Yeah, so welcome to the workshop. So I speak a bit fast. So if you don't catch me at any point in time, just let me know and I'll repeat myself. Yeah. So today is more of a mixture between like there'll be some hands-on activity. There'll be mostly me sharing about UI UX and why UI UX, and then focus for this week session is about UX design. So actually, the reason why you're focusing on UX design is because I believe for your Orbital teams, milestone 1 is probably coming up. And actually, I think UX design is more relevant for milestone 1, right? More so than UI design. And in fact, I think actually UX design should have been covered actually earlier in this. But Prof. Jin Zhao, he believes that UX design is not that high priority. So normally it's only in week 3 and so on. But I actually think that it's something that you should be aware of in week 1 actually. But it's fine. I'll just go through and see how it goes. But can. So just introduce myself quickly. I was a year 3 computer science undergraduate. I just graduated this semester. Then basically I'm actually quite passionate about building apps that basically look good and also do good. So this is something I'm very focused about. And I've been kind of doing UI UX related stuff for around 2 to 3 years now. I got started like by chance, like around before I started school. And like throughout these 3 years, I guess I've just been working on it and using it as well in my different projects. So whatever you learn here today can be applied to all your projects that you do later on whichever major or degree you're in. Right? So this is a very, very universal and transferable skills. Yeah, so feel free to ask me any questions about UI UX. If you want to ask me about internship and so on, you can also ask me. I'll be answering. Feel free, I'll be answering all those questions. Yeah. So let's talk about UI UX design. So some of you guys might have heard of this term before, right? But you never really understood what's the difference between like UI and UX. So I'll just explain briefly. So UX stands for user experience, whereas UI is like user interface. Right? So UX is really about the whole end-to-end experience, right? So it's about knowing is basically all aspects that the user interacts with your product, right? That is what we consider as UX. So it's not just about like it's not really just about like a product per se only. It's really about like the start of the journey with you to the end of the journey with you. So for example, let's say it's an airline company, right? Like I always like use this example, which is that, when does the user journey actually start, or user experience really starts with an airline company? It's actually not when the point that you step on the plane. Actually, it's actually how it's about like how do they implant in you the idea that you should be going to travel, you should be traveling, right? And the moment you start thinking about traveling, actually that's when the user journey actually starts. Really, the user experience actually starts there, and the experience doesn't really end. The journey doesn't really end when you step off the plane. Actually, it's about how can they get you to take the return flight back as well. How can they get you to be a loyal customer for them, to always fly the airlines, and basically keep coming back to them. So this is really about user experience. It's really the end-to-end journey. So whereas user interface is really about what the user is interacting with, what they're interfacing with. So you guys learn about interfaces in like 2030 and so on. Right. So some people like to think of it as like a UI is just software, but actually it's not that's not really the case. It can be hardware as well. So for example, like there's a startup founded by Singaporean founders, but they are based in the US. I believe it's Silicon Valley. They're doing something called the classroom in the box. So actually what's happening is that it's basically a beef-sized case box, right? That you can actually unpack into a table and a stool, right? So it's actually very useful for a lot of students and children, especially those underprivileged children, to actually use this for their studying purposes and so on, right? So actually in this case, the whole experience, the whole like the briefcase packing to like unpacking everything, every single part of this, right? All this hardware actually is part of the user interface, right? Because this is where the user is interacting with a product, right? So how the table is designed, how the stool is designed, how they can be folded, it's all UI. So I guess for IKEA, you can say that their products, every single furniture that they have actually is also about UI, right? That's their user interface in a sense. So that's what I like think about, right? So but maybe for this time we'll zoom a bit more into user experience, right? So actually let's talk about user what exactly is where user experience kind of like this term came from. So actually this definition is kind of created by this guy called Don Norman. He's more or less basically the father of UI UX, right? Or rather the father of UX design, right? So he last time worked in Apple in like early 1990s, right? Then he basically kind of coined the term, right? So I already mentioned about the airline example already, right? So basically it's really about all aspects of the user's interaction, right? It's not really just when they're using your app, for example. there's for a company, like a big company, this is a bit too narrow-minded. They need to think about the whole journey. Right? He's also the one that kind of introduced this term of user-centered design. But before we can get into that, maybe we want to talk about what is user experience design first, right? So as you have seen, this is basically Wikipedia. If you Google design, you can see that design is basically like a plan or like a specification, right, of how a certain system or object should be constructed, right, or implemented. So similarly, right, UX design is really about planning how to make something, how should something look like and how it should work, such that using it is very easy and enjoyable, right? So of course, after you've done this planning, you can then build, right? And of course, building is also part of the process. But user experience is really more than that. It's really about the planning process and doing the research to do this planning, right? This whole planning has a few steps, which I'll go into subsequently, right? So why do you want to plan, right? Some of you guys may have for Orbital, you guys may have started coding already. You jumped right into coding and started building an app. I'm wondering, like, I'm doing fine, right? Like, why do I need to plan? I mean, currently I'm just executing. I'm just building and it works, right? So what's the importance of this planning is really about the idea of idea and execution, or rather idea versus execution. So a very common question that some people like to ask, like, which one is more important, right? Is it the idea or the execution of the idea? So I think this one is your personal philosophy. Some people think the idea is more important. Some people think the execution is more important. But the thing is, UX design actually helps with both parts of the process, right? So many teams actually struggle to find the right idea or what to build. Like, how do you know what to build, right? How do you know how to, like, what the users actually need? So with user experience, or what the UX research and design, right, you can figure out what the idea should be, and then find out what can give your product an edge over your competitors. So how do you differentiate yourself from the competitors? So you can answer questions like, what should I be building? What would the users enjoy using, and so on, right? And this basically allows you to kind of find the unique idea that makes you different from everyone else, right? So this is what UX can get you. So this is the idea part. But the fact is that, right, the truth is, there are a lot of brilliant people around the world. I think everyone's nowadays more and more brilliant. You guys are also brilliant, people, brilliant students, right? Whatever idea you can come up with, right? There's probably someone else in the world that also has a similar idea, right? They may not be exactly the same, but they have something similar. And honestly, even if they don't have anything similar, right, they look at the idea, they can copy you also. So there's actually nothing really stopping people from having the same idea as you and doing the same thing as you. So for example, let's talk about like Uber, right? Uber came in with the ride sharing, and now there's Grab, there's Lyft, right? There's so many different options out there now, right? There's nothing really stopping people from doing the same thing as you. So what really matters at this point, after you have found the idea that works, right, through UX design, actually it's really about the execution already, right? So the question is, how do you design your product in a way that's superior to everybody else that's in the market? But if you can do that, you win the game already, right? Because people are just going to use your app. So for example, I'm pretty sure all of you guys have like a food delivery app that you prefer, right? Be it like Deliveroo or Foodpanda or Grab. I think most of you guys have like app that you prefer to using. Sure, you may use one, you may switch around when like sometimes some of the fees are cheaper in another app, right? But ultimately, I think you tend to go towards one app, right? You tend to drift towards one app. So this is where the user experience comes in, right? You can think about why do you like the app so much? Normally, most of the time, the answer is that the user experience is better. So for me, I like to use Grab, right? Because Grab never ever gets my location wrong. Whereas like some of the other apps have gotten my location wrong before, or like they send the delivery driver to somewhere else that I don't know where to find. So for me, this is a user experience kind of thing, right? And ultimately, we call that UX is really about planning. Like design is about planning, right? So knowing what you want to build actually makes it a lot easier. So for those of you guys who started coding and building an app, right, you might have like halfway through, like suddenly realize, hey, where should my button be? And then like, or how should the button look like? Like what should it look like? Then you get stuck and you have to think about it while you're coding, which is generally not very easy. So the thing is, if you have a design that you already have done up already, you can answer this question in a few seconds, right? Just look at the design and then reference it. So that's part of design. Yeah, and ultimately there's a key factors of UX design that kind of you can use to evaluate whether your design is good or not. Right. So first one is, of course, you must meet the user's needs. Right? No point you have build the most beautiful app in the world, but it solves no problem, then no one's going to use it. That's a fact. Right. The number two is, of course, the app must be easy to use and easy to learn. The ideal outcome that you want to have is that for a random user who just started using an app, the first time they use it, it's almost as if they've been using it all along. That's the ideal user experience that you want to have. But of course, it's easier said than done. So I'm pretty sure you guys have used for apps that are like a extreme pain to use. I don't know. Some guys may, for the guys out there, you guys may have used like some apps that the army users, right? The Singapore army users, which are horrendous. I think their UX is terrible, right? You like who knows how to do something, and you must keep playing around until you spend a few weeks just to learn what the app is doing, right? So this is poor UX in a sense. It's just not easy to learn. It's also not easy to use, right? Then number 3, of course, is you must give the user some freedom and control. So this part is a bit difficult to kind of like substantiate, but you can think of very good negative examples. So for example, let's say you go to a website, then they keep redirecting you to some page, or they keep popping up advertisements and stuff. They must keep pressing to close and so on. This basically restricts the more freedom you have on the app, right? And it's very, very frustrating as a user. I think almost you guys have seen this apps before. The ads just keep popping up. Halfway through, you just get redirected to some random page. It's very, very frustrating as a user, right? And number four is not a main factor, it's like a bonus. The first 3 are kind of main factors. The 4th factor will be whether you can surprise and delight the user. So sometimes this is what they call the wow factor. It's the oomph, what can differentiate you a bit more than the rest. It's like people use the app or use your product, then they, wow, I didn't think they'll do this. Like holy, like damn, this is so cool. When you have this kind of impact, right, it makes a very, very strong like an impression on you, and you probably come back to this service. So example would be like let's say a delivery service. That every time they deliver something, they also include like a short joke, right, on the item or so on. But then trust people up, right? They look at the joke and then they laugh. It's a bonus thing, but it's not really related to their main service, but it is the surprise that it brings, the delight that it brings. And this is also one factor that people can use to kind of evaluate how the design is like. So let's talk about a very quick example just to wrap this part off. Well, let's talk about microwaves, right? Generally, the UI or UX, I guess, is a bit of a blurry line. But the user experience is quite poor for a microwave. Sometimes, you look at microwave, you don't know how to use it. I'm not sure you guys feel the same, because I feel this way. Sometimes I look at microwave. It's like, especially when it's not your microwave, look at it, it's like wow, like what am I supposed to press? Like, I just want medium heat, but then the buttons are like, it's like 10, there's like 20 buttons on there. And sometimes it's like very confusing. And the microwave that's still on screen right now is really considered one of the better ones, I think. So there's like there's even worse ones. There's just like, you look at it like, wow, like I need the manual. I need the user manual to understand how to use it. On the other hand, for toasters, I guess toasters is more intuitive. You just need to press the thing down to toast it. But there's also something very interesting that some people have added to some of the toasters out there. It's what you call the just a bit more button. Right? So sometimes you toast your bread and then it like comes out, but you're like, I need to toast it a little bit more, It's just not crispy enough. Right? You can just press the button, you go down for a while and pop back up, right? And then it's exactly the amount that you want. So actually this is a UX consideration, right, in a sense. That users sometimes they want to like toast a little bit more, just make it very easy, right? They press the button and it's done. It's as simple as that. So it's actually sometimes these things are very subtle, but ultimately you do want to go for something that's a bit more intuitive and easy to use, right? So sometimes this is about the difference in like this example how UX design can be. I'm not saying that microwave is not good. I'm pretty sure that ultimately people have arrived at this kind of like user experience after years of doing research. But I'm just saying that you can compare these 2 types of user experiences, and of course you can choose which one you prefer. And of course there's a use case for each of them. And then I'm pretty sure some of you guys have seen these scenarios before. You see a door, you think that it should be a pull to open. You pull it, but it's actually a push door. Or vice versa. You see a door, you think it's to be pushed, but it's actually a pull door, right? So actually Don Norman, the guy that came out with the user experience, he calls these kind of doors Norman doors. Yes, Hans. Yes, you sent the chat. Yes, it's called Norman doors. So it's named after Don Norman. The thing is, this is not your fault. Okay, it's just poor design. There should be enough subtle hints to suggest that the door should be push or pull, and it should be that way, right? So that is the thing about design, is that you should have some way to suggest to people that it should be done in a certain way. And of course, naturally, you should be doing that way. So in this case, there's a handle. It seems to suggest that it should be pulled, but actually it's a push door. So it can be quite confusing for users. Right. And let's talk about this UI you see here. So this is to me it's a good example. So this is actually from Google I/O last year. This year there's something similar also. The design looks a bit different. They changed the design style a bit, but it's the same thing. So basically it's like a game. So like last year, because everything was online because of COVID, right? They wanted to host an event where you can find out more about Google products. So there's this basically Google I/O is an annual thing. So what they did is they built a game where you can go around the screen and you can basically interact with other people, interact with staff members like Google employees. You can also interact with NPCs and other sort of like signboards and so on. We should all share with you more about their products. And then of course along the way you can collect equipment, collect achievements. It's all along basically it's a very gamified experience. So if you go through the criteria that we talked about earlier, the factors, firstly is it meets the needs, right? So the user needs here is that people want to find out more about the products. It meets the needs, right? Because you can find out more about the product. It's quite easy. Basically, you just need to walk into something, you'll show up, pop out like something about the, let's say their Android app, right? Or their Firebase, for example. You want to find out more, you press the button, it'll bring you to their page. It's very, very easy to use. Right. So in terms of ease of use and easy to learn, it's also very easy. Right. It's just arrow keys or you can press around the mouse. That's about it. And of course, freedom and control there's a lot of freedom. You can do a lot of things. You can go fishing. I think there's some games also. Very gamified. Of course, this is very surprising and delightful. Right. So for me, I spent quite a bit of time playing around with it last year. I think this year you can go and try. The app is still there. But it's different. It looks a bit different now because they changed it for IO 2022. Right. But of course, Google has a huge team. And for Orbital, you guys only have 2 people, right? So the huge team, of course, they have like a designer, they have a business person asking about what people want to do. They have like they have a full team of developers. Of course, this app is going to be very solid. But what can you guys do as 2 people? Right. So the thing about Orbital is that you guys will have to play multiple roles. You have to be able to you need to be a business person. You need to be the user. You need to be the designer, the developer. You need to play multiple roles. And of course, may not be able to reach this level of sophistication. But you can definitely achieve something that meets users' needs. And it's also easy to use and also fun to use. Right. So that's the goal. So remember what I talked about the Don Norman, right, and the user-centered design. So this is a quote that he said back in the days. The fact is that people are smart, right? I think generally most people out there are quite smart. You give them a tool, no matter how hard it is to use, they can get used to it eventually. Right? They can pick up eventually. Right? No matter how badly designed it is. But the goal as UX designers is to make this burden disappear. Right? You don't want them to spend so much time learning. You want them to just use and use it easily. So the goal is to make the burden vanish by adapting the artifact to the user. Right? So this is the goal of UX design, right? Ultimately, or what they call user-centered design. Right? So at the core of UX is really the user. It's not about you, it's not about the company, it's not about the team. It's really about the user that you're trying to help here or trying to serve here. So this is the crux of UX design. Okay, any questions so far? If not, feel free to send the chat. Yeah, then the next part I'll talk about UX design phases. Right. So this part I'll have a little bit of a small hands-on activity halfway through. And then after I finish this part, we'll have the hands-on with Figma. Okay. So you guys can see at the side here, there's five words here: understand, analyze, ideate, prototype, and validate. Right? So these are the 5 phases that I'll be sharing in this workshop. Excuse me. Note that not everyone calls it the same name. Right? Some people call understand, they call this phase objectives, which is fine. It's the same thing. Some people combine idea and prototype into a single phase, which they call they call it idea or prototype or design, something like that. Right. For me, I broke it down into 2 because I think it's easier to teach as 2. And personally, I think these are actually slightly different steps. Right. And then some people have an extra step at the bottom called iterate. Right. So the thing is, this is 5 phases, right? It's supposed to be repeatedly done. Right. So you need to keep doing it over and over again. So after you finish validate, you go back to understand and then do one more cycle and so on. So this is the same as software engineering actually. Software engineering nowadays is also about like agile, right? You want to keep doing development cycles, right? What they call SDCs. So this is the same concept. In UX, you also want to be iterative. So some people have the last step, which is called iterate. But to me, that's a bit straightforward. I mean, iterate means you go back to the first step, right? I don't want to have a first step just for asking to go back to the first step. So this is the 5 steps I'll be covering. Okay. So each phase, I will have a key question that we aim to answer in this phase. Right? So each phase has a goal, right? And this is a key question for this phase. So the first question is for the understand phase is, what does my experience need to accomplish? So this is the question you want to answer in this phase, right? So some guys might figure out that you already know the answer for this problem, but recall that this is ultimately a cycle. After you have done your first version of the app, your question is what's next, right? What do I do next? So some guys may have for example, you guys have planned out up to June, right, to finish your product. Then you have July to do like other stuff. But I think it's after you reach June, you might want to ask like, okay, so what do we do for July? You know, what's next, right? So this is the part that you need to that you'll come back to again in your cycle. Right? You come back to this first question, and then you need to answer this question. What do I need to accomplish? Right. So why is this phase important? Right. So the phase is that you don't have this phase. What happens is that generally what you do is like your team, within your own team, you come up with ideas, right? Then you spend time building a product. Then you launch it and no one uses it because you're not solving any problem. So for example, like your boss tell you, hey, the boss tells you, I think this is a problem. Can you go and solve it? Then after you go and do it, after you launch it, you realize actually it wasn't a problem at all. It was just whatever your boss thought of. And you spend months building it. Just wasted a few months of your time, right? So it's very important to make sure that you actually answer the previous question about what does my experience need to accomplish properly, right? I think of course this is in the context of like company, right? But and for personal projects, you guys might want to do something that's just for fun, lah. But ultimately, I think you guys all want to build something that people actually use, right? I mean, what's the point of building an app that no one ever uses? So ultimately, we want to answer this question properly, right? So what can you do, right? So of course, the most straightforward way is talk to your target users, right? I mean, there's no other way around it because this is after basically it's like a cycle, right? You want to come back every time after you finish building something, talk to your users to find out what else do they want, right? What else do they need? So this is you need to talk to your users to find out more about the requirements, right? So if you have an existing product, you can create surveys, for example, gather feedback, and so on. So this is all about data collection, right? Then there's also this technique called the contextual inquiries, where you basically can head down to the ground and conduct this. So I'll share more about this in the next slide. Last but not least, right, the most important thing is that you cannot make any assumptions about your user. Okay, so this is a very common trap. Even I fall for it sometimes. A lot of people think, well, I'll use my own app, right? So I am definitely a user. In the case, whatever I want should be what everyone else wants, right? So one thing you must not take note at any point in time is that no, you're not the user. Okay, so it's a big thing. Everyone thinks that they're the user, but no, you're not. Okay, so I'll just give a quick case study about sharing about like why an example of this in real life lah. So I think you guys know about like Dove, right? Dove is the company that makes like shampoo and body wash and so on. Right? So basically they were selling very well around the world. Then they decided to try to reach out to this country. I can't remember what the country was, but basically when they tried to enter the country's market and sell the products, for some reason, nobody really wanted to buy their products. They're selling very badly, right? And they were like, how come? I mean, like I use my own product. Everyone else in the world is using the product. Why is this country not doing well, right? So at first they thought maybe it's my marketing got some problem, or maybe I didn't advertise my product properly. But they tried to spend more budget there, so it didn't work, right? Nothing worked. So actually, eventually they took the time to talk to the people and find out what's actually happening. So actually, they found out that it's something very interesting is that most of people in this country actually have curly hair. So generally for people with straight hair, right, actually straight hair generally is oilier, right? And Dove shampoo actually kind of strips off this oil when you actually use it. But the thing is, right, for the people there, they mostly have curly hair, right? And curly hair tends to be a lot drier. When they actually use that shampoo, right, the hair became very, very dry, right? And it was basically quite bad for them and very, very harmful. Actually, their hair was like damaged afterwards. So basically, no one wanted to use it. So afterwards, Dove found this problem that, wow, we didn't know that, So they went back to the drawing board, they redesigned their formula, they came up with a new shampoo that still cleans, but doesn't strip off that much oil. And if you Google now, you can find out that this is what they call, it's part of their campaign called Love Your Curls, right? So if you get Google it, they're selling this product as Love Your Curls. Of course, they came up with a new whole marketing story about it, like how like most people, a lot of women actually they are with curly hair, they don't like their hair, right? So they talk about like how you should embrace your identity, not identity, embrace your hair, embrace your, like this is your hair, right? Love it. So of course that's marketing, but the UX side, the fact is that you are not they found that the user actually had a different user experience than they expected, right? And this shampoo took off, right? And that worked. So really you cannot assume that you are the user just because you use that product. You cannot represent all the users. So you ultimately need to talk to the people and find what's happening, right? So one way of doing that is what I call contextual inquiries. So basically it's like what I call a semi-structured interview. Okay, so it's very long. I'll just quickly summarize it. 8K, you just go down You tell them, you say, hey, can I like watch you do your work? And then while you're watching them do work, you ask questions like, hey, I've noticed that you're doing this just now. Do you want to, can you like explain why you did that? Or say, oh, I noticed you're not doing this. Any reason why you're not doing that? And so on. So actually, why does this actually work? It's because a lot of times, like, people like to say they do something, but they actually don't do it. For example, as students, you might tell your parents like, hey, I watch my lectures regularly, but do you actually watch your lectures regularly? I think that's a big question, right? So the fact is that what people say they do may not be what they do, or maybe they may do something else, right? So the fact is that you need to actually go down to the ground, talk to these people, watch them do their work, and then ask questions, right? Like why are you doing this? Taking shortcut instead of doing this, right? Why are you doing this instead of that? You need to ask questions, find out more, right? So I think a quick example would be like if you're building app for delivery drivers, which I think some guys will be building, like for delivery drivers, right? You don't even know what they're doing for every single step along the way of this delivery process. Can you really build an app that targets their needs? That's the question, which is very, very difficult. Yeah. Then after we are done with this, right, what I can do is compare your interview data and find the discrepancies. Normally, this is where you can, actually these discrepancies are normally where you can find gaps that you can target, because there must be some reason for that discrepancy, right? Surely something's a bit wrong here. Like they say that they should be doing this, but they're actually not doing it. Why? You keep asking why, you can probably figure out some sort of problem and solve, right? Then you can basically kind of delve into like what are they thinking and feeling every single step along the way, and you want to uncover what I call touch points. So touch points are basically where the potential points that you can come in with your product. So like you see, oh, so drivers, you found that delivery drivers actually at this point they do something, they need something at this point, but they don't have it. Then maybe you say, okay, that's where I can come in. My product can come in already. This is a touch point, right? It's a pain point I can target also, right? And lastly is that you want to talk to users to basically discover what they call unarticulated aspects of work, right? Basically, things that they don't talk about their work generally. Sometimes it's because they don't think about it too much. Sometimes it's because they think that it's too complex or technical for people to understand. So normally they don't talk about it. So you need to go and uncover these kind of things. So let's I'll tell another story again. So this part is a bit more storytelling. So talk about Uber. Like how did Uber get started? Like how like Uber kind of changed the industry, right? And then after they kick off this whole thing about a shared economy, I think some guys have learned like learned economics before in H2 econs or something. You learn about like shared economy, which is like this whole sharing industry. So Uber kind of kicked off this whole crazy phase and trend of sharing economy. So how did they get started? How did they come up with this brilliant idea of like making people drive for other people? So what they did is actually what they did is actually contextual inquiries. So they went down to the ground, and this is shared by the co-founder of Uber himself, right? He went to the ground and he went to observe people to getting a cab and getting to their destinations, and he observed for a long period of time. And it's from this that they managed to identify 2 pain points that most people don't actually talk about for some reason, right? Most people don't really share this kind of pain points. First pain point is that it's not easy to get a cab, right? Get a taxi, and the very annoying thing is that you don't know when the taxi will arrive. So I think good example is when you guys go airport on like 3 a.m. Right? You need to get a taxi to airport. This is you don't know when the taxi is going to arrive. You have no idea whether the taxi is coming, whether to be any taxis at all, and so on. It's a very frustrating process. It's a very there's a lot of uncertainty at the start. But I think now we are all very super used to telling people, hey, driver coming in 5 minutes, get ready. But know that in the past this was not the standard experience. The standard experience is let's go down get a cab, and we get ready to stand there for like 20 minutes just trying to hail a cab or something, or call their taxi service. But even call service, you also don't know how long the taxi will take time. So it's a very, very uncertain process and experience. Number 2 pain point that they found: when you get off the cab, firstly, you don't know if you have enough money to pay for the taxi fare. Second is that you don't know if your payment method is supported. What if you only have a card and you don't have your cash, but they only support cash? You don't know. And when you're getting off the cab, you find out, it's quite, it's very, very, very frustrating also, right? It's like, I'm here already. I don't have money to pay you. What can I do, right? I mean, I'm stuck. So it's very, very frustrating for the people also. And this is where Uber came in. So Uber realized these are 2 pain points, and it solved the problem very beautifully, right? So first one is, now you know exactly when your cab is coming, right? When your driver is coming. So they came up with this whole user experience, right? They designed it. Number 2 is that now you can reach the destination, you can just walk off the car. You can just get off the car and walk off. Automatically, the payment is deducted from your bank account or credit card. Right? It's so seamless, right? This is what we mean by doing like like really designing the whole user experience very carefully based on the data you collected. So this is really a very, very good example. Yeah. And even today we're seeing like Grab, Gojek, they're all doing the same thing now. It's more or less they're just replicating the user experience that Uber has kind of invented. Right. So this is about collecting data. So once you have the data and you know more about users, it's time to actually analyze the data and analyze your users. So the question you want to answer at this phase, the analyze phase, is what is the problem that I should focus on? Okay, now that you have a lot of data, right? Yeah, so it's a bit dry now, so I'll show more diagrams later. But basically now that you have a lot of data, you might have identified a lot of problems, right? But not all problems are of equal priority. Some problems will be more important than others, right? Some of them, even if you solve the problem, solve that small problem, people may not use the app, but it doesn't make much difference to people because it's not a big problem. So you want to analyze this data, solve the best problem that's worth your time. So let's say, like I said, Orbital, right? The main problem you want to solve is, of course, what the main product you're building now, from now to June, right? Or end of June, maybe. Then afterwards, from June to July, next step is you need to find out what's the best next thing to build, right? At that point. So you do want to analyze the data and then find out what you can best build. Spend one last month on. Sorry, I think Fang Xiao, you have a question? Sorry, you're muted. Okay. Yeah. Let me know if you have a question. Feel free to send a chat or just unmute and ask. So this is okay. Okay. Let me know. Yeah. So I'll just continue first. So the data you collect, right? Earlier, it can come from the data interviews. Your user interviews they conducted earlier. It come from feedback surveys on existing products. If you have a product already, you're trying to add more features, you can go ahead and to ask for survey feedback. You can, some of you guys may be building apps that like web applications and so on. For those apps, actually quite easy to add what I call Google Analytics. Actually, if you're using Flutter, also can add. I think can also add Google Analytics and so on. So this analytics service basically help to collect data about how the user uses the app. Every single thing that they do, actually you can track. You can actually track and store. But nowadays Google Analytics is not very popular because more and more people are thinking that realizing that Google collects a lot of data from you, more data than they actually need. So nowadays there's a lot of other alternatives that are more privacy focused, right? They focus on saying that we do analytics, but we are secure, but we value your privacy. So nowadays Google Analytics is not as popular already, especially among developers. Yeah. Sometimes you also want to know how much money that your user is earning. Let's say you're actually selling a product, right? So apps like from PayScale can help you find out how much let's say you're building an app for like software engineers. How much do software engineers normally earn? Then you can price a product accordingly. So the interesting thing is that you don't want to make your product too expensive, but you also don't want to make a product too cheap. If your product is too cheap, people might think it's a shabby product. It's not worth their time. So actually, you need to make sure that you need to find the sweet spot where people are willing to pay for it. Yeah, at the same time, it represents the value of your product, the value that you're bringing to your product. And lastly, of course, you can look at what your competitors are doing, right? So for example, Samsung and Apple is a very good example. You just look at each other and copy, right? More or less, that's that works for them. So it might work for you as well. Then once you have the data, what can you then do? Generally, this step is a bit different for each team, really. So this one is it's actually quite open-ended, and it's very, very, of course, open-ended for a reason. So there are many, many things you can do. But generally, a lot of these steps boil down to distilling the data down to a few diagrams that you digest, right? And these diagrams can then be later used to like kind of guide your decision making. So here are some diagrams that people like to use. You don't want to like make it into like some sort of information too wordy or anything like that, because you should be able to come back to this frequently, take a look at it and should understand, okay, I need to do, the focus is this. If it's too wordy, I mean, every time I come back, I need to read through the whole thing again. It's very painful. But normally, I want to keep it like some simple diagrams, right? So there are some diagrams like Scamper, which is not very common actually. User journey maps, which is a lot more common. This one is quite common. Empathy maps, which are not that common also. Affinity diagrams are quite common. Storyboards is it's a very wide concept. As in, how to say? It's quite general. So you'll see this. We'll use storyboards for prototyping also, right? Then there's this good thing about called 5 whys. Basically, you ask a question like, for example, why do people not want to go get? Why do we want to order food? Maybe because they don't want to go and buy their own food. So why do people not want to buy their own food? Maybe because blah blah blah. They don't have time. Why do people not have time? So you keep asking why, you keep doing recursive questioning, eventually you reach a certain point where like you find a reason that this is the problem you want to work on. You reach a point where you find something that you want to work on. So this is the 5 whys framework. There's also like a fishbone diagram, which basically tells you how different services can be integrated, which is also possible to use. And lastly, about user persona. So today I was sharing about user persona as well as user journey maps. So these two mainly. There's, like I said, so much stuff I can share, but ultimately I need to keep this within 2 hours. So yeah. So user persona basically is like what you want to do is you want to craft a imaginary user, right, that you're building a product for. But interestingly enough is that you want to be as specific as possible and you want to bring this persona to life, right? So generally you want to come down to arrive at 1 to 2 personas, right? So the persona is like, for example, I give an example. Let's say I want to build an app for John, who is a software engineer. He's 27 years old this year. He works at a startup, maybe he likes to play tennis and so on. So the goal is to be as specific as possible so that you can find out how can my product enter this person's life. If I don't know anything, if I don't know his if I can't come up with like sufficient details about his life, it's better for me to enter his life, right? So I need to find out how can I be part of his life. So for example, some good examples would be like Netflix, right? Some people can say like, oh, I need to watch Netflix before I sleep. If I don't watch Netflix, I cannot fall asleep. This is an example of how Netflix is now part and parcel of this person's life, right? Like this is Netflix is integrated in this person's life. Example maybe like Telegram, right? It's so integral to our communication these days. Nowadays, you want to talk to people in school, it's all Telegram, right? You realize that it's so integral to our life. And sometimes you don't even realize that until you actually think about it, is that they have managed to be part and parcel of our life. So this is the goal of user persona. You want to come up with a concrete persona and then kind of like find a way to get into that, be part of them. So this is normally done by like it's like a group. You need to do something as a group so that can get consensus. Everyone agrees on the persona. You don't want to have a case where some people don't agree that the persona is the user that they're doing things for. So you want to reach true, what they call true consensus, right? Basically, what you do is that you basically conduct like a brainstorming session. You ask them like a focus group session. Ask them who will be interested in our product, right? And basically get people to design a persona, right? So they can design like you can say like, oh, I think Emily, right? University student, who likes to, I don't know, do some sport or something, or like struggles with something, for example. This person will be our persona. Then you paste it on the board, right? So you realize in UI UX in like this kind of design thing, like a lot of post-it stuff So they place the post-it on the board. What happens is that people come in and then they'll try to, after everyone has pasted their personas, right? They'll try to identify similar personas or similar traits and try to group them into one. And then after that, they try to boil everything down to the essentials and find similarities, and that will probably be part of the persona. And once it's done, you can print out the persona and paste it on the office, so that everyone can kind of like be reminded, oh, I'm building this app for Tim, I'm building this app for John, right? That's the goal of this persona, is to unify everyone's impression of the user. So here's an example of a persona that I think I basically, me and my team tried to design for this product, this idea that we had called iNews Maps. Basically, I can help people navigate through school. I'm not sure you guys have spent a lot of time going through school, but you realize actually it's quite tough to go from some place to some places, especially engineering. It's almost impossible to find your classroom in the NUS ends, because it's like you're on at one moment you're on the 6th floor, then suddenly you're on the 2nd floor, or like in the 1st floor already. You're just walking and it's because everywhere it's like a hill, right? So here you can see we are helping this person, Clara, who has a description about like how she's like sporty and so on, and she has hobbies and some pain points that she has also, right? And of course, like I said, you don't have to necessarily be exactly about the problem. For example, you can say like she doesn't have money, she doesn't have time to travel, so on. These are all pain points that are valid, right? Perfectly valid, right? Here's another example. So just not by my team. This is by another team for 3216 project. So the app is called Basket. Yeah. Then basically you can see like this person's persona is that he has goals, right? He has certain goals. So that's important. So I think all of us have our own goals, have our own dreams and so on. So you do want to know also like what this person goes and so on. And then you can see about like his this part it's all about you can embellish the perform more, but and some of this may actually affect how you design your product as well. right? And then talk about his frustrations and thoughts and feelings and worries and fears. All these are very valid points to cover here. Yeah. Then once you have a persona, it's also easier to then define the user journey map. So what you want to do is you want to come up with like a certain scenario and then map the user's journey through this scenario. So if you already have a product, you can actually just let's say you have an app already, you build it, you can just map how the user interacts with your app. Otherwise, you can just map their general journey. Yeah, so you want to map out how they are feeling, right? And where are the touch points and so on. So I think it's quite hard to understand, but let me just give an example. So it's an example of a user journey map. So here you can see that this is for Samuel, just now for basket as well. And you can see this is his stress level. So this is a graph for his stress level. So here are his stress levels and how kind of changes across time as he interacts with the product. And the product here is more WAG, by the way. They're working on like improving more WAG. So more WAG, you can see that they can choosing modules, scheduling modules, and repeat. It's quite frustrating for our Samuel here. So he has a certain thoughts, right? He has certain thoughts and certain actions that he does. So sometimes it's not a stress level graph. Sometimes it can be a happiness level graph. Sometimes it can be just like a positive, negative emotions graph, right? So in this case, this one they use stress level, right? So actually, this is quite helpful because when you notice certain spikes or certain drops, right, something's a bit wrong, right? Because you shouldn't have the user shouldn't fluctuate so much in emotions, especially negatively, right? So for example, let's say you're running a company and then your advertisements are bringing users to the website, but they're not buying stuff at your website. Like from what airline, right? They are users coming to their website, but they're not buying their tickets. So if you map out this journey, you can see that maybe the users were quite happy when they were looking at advertisements. Then when they go to the website, it drops. Suddenly it becomes like, oh, they actually become very upset or very angry or unhappy about using the app, using your website. Maybe your website is so bad that they get very frustrated and just leave. Then in the case, of course, no one will buy tickets, right? Because they really clearly not even feeling good about using our website. So this is where you can map out a journey and see where the points that can come in. So normally this is all these kind of spikes where you can come, your app can come in already. Yeah. And last but not least, you can then express everything into a problem statement. But this note that this is a bit there's a bit of a overlap with the next step because we're already talking about the solution a bit already. There's a solution here. But this is a way to express your problem succinctly. So for example, you can say like to overcome the difficulty of finding C at CLB during exam periods, we can consolidate C information across all the floors so that any students, so the users, right, can perform their search in a single place to save time. So this is more or less how you can summarize your whole research into a problem statement that you can target. And some guys might realize that this sounds like a user story, right, for your Orbital also. Right. So ultimately, user stories is a bit of overlap between. It's a bit of like it's where the software engineering and UX kind of interleave, because it is the part of the user focused part of software engineering. It's a user focused part of requirement specification, right? So it's kind of just interesting to notice this. Yeah, and of course, last point, before we reach the next phase is be careful of what they call perceived problems versus real problems. So you might perceive that a problem that, for example, a security team is understaffed and lackluster. But the real problem maybe is that actually it's not that. It's that you're not allocating manpower properly. You're not like pairing seniors to juniors properly. So the juniors are confused when they're doing their job. And that's why they're like a bit incompetent, right? Because they don't know what they're doing. And the allocation also maybe doesn't meet the demands and requirements. In the case, of course, it just seems like your security team is not doing well, but actually it's not. It's just that they are not being allocated properly. So you don't want to waste your time solving the wrong problem. But it's not easy to find the real problem versus a perceived problem. Right? So this is of course I can't really give a one size fits all answer for this. So it requires more research. And lastly, okay, so this part we have a small hands-on, right? Before our big hands-on later. So here we want to then, now that we know more about the problem domain, we want to then be able to find solutions to the problems. So the question I want to answer here is how can we solve the problem we have identified? So notice that this is a how question. So the first two questions we had were what questions. So from now on, the next three questions will all be how. Right? How can we solve this problem that we have identified? So what I can do is generally you can boil down to two steps. Firstly is that you need to figure out what's the functionality that you need to support. Then figure out what the features you need to support the functionality. So functionality versus feature is a bit of a, let me just explain maybe, well, let's give an example. Let's say Grab. Maybe for Grab, your functionality is allow users to book car rides. This is functionality. It's very open, right? But features may be something like user can specify where they are, user can specify when they want to go, user can make payment, user can see the driver, user can see how long the driver will take, user can give feedback about the driver, right? Then also the driver side also, the driver must be able to join the app. Driver must be able to say that they are they're ready to pick up the passenger, and so on. So all these small things are what I call features, but overarching functionality is we want to allow users to book car rides. So this is the difference between functionality and feature. Functionality is nothing about the actual app itself. It's not really about not about how the app should look like or what app should exactly do, but it's more about the high level idea. Like what is it that you want to provide to the user? The feature is the parts that the small parts of the app that will support this functionality, right? And of course, some of these features are maybe like what they call wow factors, like I said, basically features that are not critical, but it's like people look at it like, wow, it's so cool. Yeah. So ultimately, what I want to have is what I call UX feature list. So for those that look up into 2103 stuff, right, you will see that in software engineering, there's also something called feature list. It's more or less the same thing actually. So what you want to do is you want to what's the functionality? You want to have a brainstorming session to come up with features to build. So at this point, you want to make it such that it's open-ended. It's very open. You can be creative, come up with all ideas. So you don't, how to say, there are no bad ideas at this point. I think you shouldn't be judging people's ideas. You should just come up with random, as many ideas as you can, and then just add it to the list. So this is the unit brainstorm. Yeah, afterwards you can then do some. Of course, now they have a lot of features that you come up with to support this functionality. You can then filter it down. So for example, you can say like one way to cut out all the core features that you cannot do without. So for example, you have an online course website. You probably need videos. I think it's very hard to do an online course website without a video, right? So probably if someone bought videos, you can take it out. It's a core feature, right? You're gonna build it anyways. Then after that, the remaining features that are a bit more optional, you can then condense them into. So the good thing about post-its, you can stack them together, right? So you can stack the post-its for features that are similar, and also filter out any features that are like really weird, like extremely weird features. This one normally don't filter out too much, but sometimes you might want to filter out. Then you try to cut it down to a reasonable size, like maybe 20 features, right? Then after that, you can choose which features you want to do. So there are a few ways of filtering features. I'll just quickly run through them. I don't go into too much detail. So for one way is what I call the pairwise comparison. So basically, you just pick up two features and you compare like which one is more relevant, which one takes more time to do, which one is more cost effective. Is there a wow factor? Then you just choose the winner. It's like a tournament style. Keep doing it like a tournament until you find the features that you want to do, the top few features. So the goal is to filter out the lower priority features. Another way is what I call the monopoly method. So basically, you give everyone like $10 of monopoly money. Then you tell them, at the count of 3, you put the money down to the features that you want to, that you really pay for. So this money actually represents the time and effort that each person has, which is limited, right? So the question is, out of all these features, which feature would you spend the time and time and effort on out of all the features out there? So this is called the monopolist method. But you also want to prevent what is called the boss bias. So if your boss is there in the group and the boss goes and say something like, I think feature 1 is the best, we should do feature 1. I don't think anyone will going to say like, oh boss, you're wrong, I think you should do feature 2, right? I mean, you're generally going to say like, okay, yeah, let's just do feature 1. So you cannot have you should try to avoid like having such biases, so that you make sure to put the money down at the same time now, to make sure that it's more or less fair and actually represents what people think about the where the time and resources should be put into. Like you want to spend on critical features. Okay, that's enough talking from me. Let us do some small hands-on now, right? So the next part is what I call let's try out this brainstorming session that I just talked about. Brainstorming from converting from functionality to a feature. Okay, so the links already here already. For now, can you guys don't do anything on the website yet? Let me stop sharing first. I'll send the link to the chat, and then you guys can head over to the website. But please don't do anything yet. I'll share my screen. Yeah, see some guys popping in already. So yeah, please do head over to the link in the chat. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? So this is a mural board that I've created. Okay, so I see everyone coming in now. Okay, let's just wait for a while. I'll try not to move this by the way. So let's do a brainstorming session together. Okay, so let us brainstorm features for this functionality. So that's what I mentioned about AWS Maps, right? Let's do that. So the question is, I want to build an app that allows students to easily navigate around AWS to find their classrooms. What are some features that we want to that can build to support this? So for this, can everyone drag? How to do is you can grab a post-it note, drag it to the side, and you can write down your idea, your feature. If you run out of post-it notes here, you can create at the side. So you can see at the side there's this stickies. I think they call it stickies. Sticky note, sorry. Then just drag whatever you like and drag it on top here. You can see my screen, for example. So can everyone do that? Try not, please don't go and delete RBO stuff. And please, if you see someone like, you can see someone's editing, that thing, don't go and edit it also. I think more or less give each other a bit of space. Yeah. So like I said, you can drag other post-its from the side here onto the board. So this tool is what I call the whiteboarding tool. Miro is what I call whiteboarding tool. It basically does this. It's like this is a whiteboard. Everyone's using basically post-its on the whiteboard. Yeah. Okay, so I'll give around like maybe 3 minutes. I think actually don't need come out too many points. Around 3 minutes, and we can then do the filtering and consolidation. Yeah. So for me, I think I'll just grab this one. I'll say like, okay, I guess most important feature for me is a map, right? I think for AWS Maps there has to be a map, right? So I put map, for example. But of course, don't have to say this. Can be well, you guys can come up with something more creative. Yeah. Well, someone has a lot of someone just spawning post-its here. Sure. Okay, can just take a post-it and drag one post-it and use like everyone. Thanks so much for helping to generate more post-its. But I think don't have to create too many. Later we still need filter. Okay, so I see some very, very interesting ideas. I won't make any judgments now. So the point of brainstorming is that we shouldn't be judging people for their ideas. We should be we should more or less be like encouraging people to come up with interesting, innovative ideas. By the way, I think only 37 of you are on the Miro board. Please do join the Miro board if you are not already on the Miro board. Because I think there's quite a few participants now, but like only half are on the board. It's fine. I think it's fine. Some of them may be just watching also. But we can join in the hands-on. Okay, 1 more minute, everyone, to try to come up with ideas. Can be very, very core features. Can be miscellaneous features that you think are very may help to support them. It can be like wow factors, like think about things that you're using, like you're like wow, how did they do that? Like that's so cool. Like, what kind of feature is this? Like that's so awesome. Okay. Okay, 1 last minute. We just let me wrap up. Okay, yeah. Wow. Who created this nice block of post-it? Okay. Okay, can I think more or less I think we have good enough points ready. Okay. So let us then clean this up a bit. So can everyone stop creating for a while? Can everyone please stop creating? See your cooperation for this. So I will clean this up a bit. I'll delete all the empty ones first. Okay. Clean it up. I think most of them have something. And then now we'll first filter out the core ones. Okay. So let's filter out the core features. So map is of course quite core. Okay. So we leave it to a side here. Like core features, basically you have to build it. So core features are basically what makes or breaks the app. If you don't have the feature, the app won't work. The functionality won't be supported. So we do want to make sure that we will take those out. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else? If not, okay. Let's see. Interactive virtual map. Okay. I think I'll group this together with map and move it out. So it's okay. To me, it's also a core feature. I'll move it to the side here. Otherwise, okay. So I think I'll start to. So once we have kind of filtered out, I think this is more or less the some level of filtering already. Try to create one post-it for each feature, by the way. But okay, I guess it's fine. Yeah. So now you start to what we'll do is we want to consolidate the features that are the same. So let's see. So for example, so this part needs some manual work a bit. For example, indoor navigation. Okay, so this is a good feature. Then you have AR power map. AR power map. Okay, very innovative. Hologram around bus stop. Okay. QR code to scan for map. QR code to scan for map. Okay. That's interesting. Build a big sign. Okay, this one okay, we'll keep it for now. Can. Fantastic empty one. Fantastic user account. Sorry, I don't think it's very relevant. So I think I'll delete. Sorry to whoever wrote it, but I don't really understand what this feature is. Show building code and floor number. I would say this is maybe a core feature. You want to show the location, the details of the location, right? So they can specify like the building code and so on. COVID test kit. Okay, interesting. 3D view of 3D view of to show build level changes between buildings. Okay, and nearby friends. Okay, this one. Accurate updated real-time updates put together. These are sites can go without green pass. Sure. I think now don't really need green pass yet. But let's put it together with like some sort of like COVID features. Right. Okay. Annual events happening nearby. That's interesting. Events happening nearby. Allow users to live. Well, actually, you guys have very, very creative ideas. All very, very different. Bookmark to store. Okay, bookmark to store frequently visited sites. Okay. Sites of grades and waypoints. Sorry, I don't think I understand this very well. This means what? Sorry. Okay, I think maybe I'll put it as like this kind of landmarks maybe. Right. Show current location, show nearby building, show building block, places park. Okay, this one I think we'll put current location. I think is a core feature, so I'll put it together on the bottom. Right. Live stream and view of every corner of NUS. And by the way, please stop adding. I think for now, please stop adding already. We are now consolidating. So live stream and view every each corner of NUS. Okay, so this one, I'll paste it on the thing. Real-time updates, I guess. Together with this, I'll put together real-time updates. Real-time data images like Google Maps. I think I'll put it as real-time data also. So I'll just put them together. Images the classroom similar to Google Maps. Okay, so images about the location. Okay. Direction. I think this is a core feature. Tell you where to go. Right. B, I delete. Integration NUS internal bus. Okay, so this is good. It's a very interesting feature. So allow setting stops along the way to the destination. Okay. So like kind of like route planning. It's like graph traversal, right? You want to have many nodes and find the shortest path between each adjacent pair of nodes. Okay. Dock delete. Bus walk drive options. Can integrate NUS mods. Okay, interesting. So I think this one is I'll put together this GPS navigator. I think this is unfortunately a core feature, so I'll do that direction. Something like Google Street View. Yep. So I think there's something about like a AR power map, live street view of each and every corner of NUS. I think I'll put this together and maybe AR power map. Interesting. Okay, maybe I'll just put this together for now. Friend finder feature. Can this person unselect this one? I can't move it. Maybe okay. So can show nearby friends and on the map. Map service users can use to direct them from current position to destination. So this one I think is a core feature. So I'll put it here. Users can find the shortest route from their location to their location in the NUS. Good. But it's once again, this is a bit of a core feature, so I'll put it there. Icons to identify toilet. Okay, so amenities, right? I think there's something similar to amenities, right? Which is probably I think I'll put it together as like landmarks and maybe COVID test kits. Okay, I'll put them together. So amenities in general. 3D representation of each floor. So I think this one has something similar, right? Which is that there's a indoor navigation and 3D view. I think I'll put this together. Lah. Okay. Then walking directions as online as map. Okay, so this one is below. Navigation and backstory location. So navigator, I take it off now. Just put backstory locations. I think I'll put as maybe more details about the amenities. Is anything be a big sign? I think I'll delete for now. Is that okay? I think I put together as information about amenities. Live view informal directions provided by. Yeah, this is what happens. So you try to create multiple post-it next time for each feature. So this is why it's a bit tricky. Informed directions, live view we already have already. So we talk about informal directions, which is probably the allow anon to users leave anon comments, right? Okay. Last 3 items, highlight maps, 3D visualization animation of path and so that's interesting. Have a map that highlights icons. Okay. And I think that's about it. I think we are more or less done. So let us so this is more or less we group them together to some extent. But let us consolidate them into for duplicates we keep one so you can vote. So let's start with let's place them out properly. So NS events happening nearby. Okay, so here this is unique. AR power map. I'm not very sure what this means. So but 3D animation and visualization. And but don't leave the mirror first. We still have a voting afterwards. We'll do a voting afterwards. So I think okay. So this one I'll keep this one instead. Use a subset. Integration NUS internal bars. Integration NUS mods. Bookmark to store frequently visited locations. I think I'll keep this one. I'll keep the one that's more general. QR code scan format. I'm not sure what this means, so I will leave it there for now. Hologram on bus stop. Hologram on bus stop. I think I'll put together AR lah. I'll consider as AR. 3D indoor navigation. I think more general is indoor navigation. Maybe allow users to leave comments. Yeah. Allow setting stops along the way. Show nearby NUS. This one, okay. Bus walk drive option. Actually, I think this is I feel this is an essential feature, so I'll leave it for now. Images of classroom similar to Google Maps. Live stream view of each and every corner. And maybe one last one is the real-time up. I don't know about real-time updates. I think this one a bit vague. Doesn't really tell me how this feature is a bit vague. Not sure how it actually helps the functionality. Okay, but maybe we can keep it for the updates. But this is very broad. To me, this sounds like a core feature also. Of course, your update need to be real time, right? It's like can't really navigate properly. So this is actually more core. Images like Google Maps, I think we already have. Okay, so we have these few options here. So let's do a vote. So can everyone please hop on if you left earlier, can you come back and let's conduct a vote. Let me try to find the functionality. Sorry, give me a second. Hang on, it's been a while since I've done this. Hang on. Strange, There was a voting feature last time. Okay, that it's like okay, yeah, I just found it. Silly me. Okay, we'll do a voting now. Okay, so the voting area will be this area. Will be the items in this area, and we'll only allow the sticky notes. So everyone has guys have 1 minute to vote, and you have up to 3 votes. Is that okay, everyone? You can vote for more than 1 vote per object. If you really like the idea, you can vote 3 votes inside also can. And then let us maybe 2 minutes. Let's begin. Okay. So feel free to join the voting. Then you have 2 minutes to kind of vote. I'll also join myself. Please don't let my influence. Don't let me influence the voting. I'm just gonna vote whatever I like. Which is more or less may not necessarily be the So this is really, so think about it, these are features that it's like maybe your app don't have these features. But if you don't, but you must rather these are features that you want to have seen in your app. So more or less this is voting based on how important you think this feature is, and then like how much effort would you want to put into this. Maybe this would be good. And I'm done. Okay, actually I'm done. So you can't really see what other people are doing. Yeah, 1 minute left, everyone, for voting. Well, let's just vote for the ideas like that. And it's quite interesting. You'll see that actually people value different things. So some of you guys may be like thinking, wow, this feature sounds quite silly, you know. Why would I actually bother doing that? But to other people, actually, they think actually it's quite a good feature, you know. So this is where you need to get consensus among the whole team as well. So this is a part of the process as well. And sometimes some of these ideas you never think of it yourself. For example, they tell me computer vision recognize users' current location. I wouldn't have thought of that. No, but clearly someone has thought of that. And now we're voting on it. So this is the power of like brainstorming. But you can get everyone to kind of contribute. And you can find ideas that you may not have ever thought of before. Okay, last 10 seconds. And yeah, we're done. So let's take a look at the results. So top 3 results. Indoor navigation seems to be the most popular, which, okay, I guess that makes sense. Icons to identify the toilets and canteens, so on. And wow, computer vision. Okay, so I wouldn't have thought this is that popular, but then clearly people like this idea a lot. So this is like an example of how this process may be like. Just that you might be, in real life, you might be doing this like physically with like post-it notes. But here we're replicating the process using Miro. So you see there's some of others is 3D visualization animation of the path across buildings. So sounds like to me you guys are all like very into very sick features, right? Very impressive features like computer vision, 3D visualization animation, integration NUS mods and so on. Yes, okay. I guess this popular is NUS events happening nearby. Whoever came up with this idea, I think it's a good idea. Actually, honestly, I think this is something you want to build eventually. But just that maybe this bound, it doesn't make sense to build it now. But people they seem to value other features more. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining the Miro, for being part of this first small hands-on activity. I'll go back to my slides now. You can continue playing the board if you want, but more or less I will not be using a board anymore. Can everyone? Okay, let's quickly wrap up this part, then we can move on to the exciting Figma hands-on, which I think is the focus of this today's session. Okay. So now that you have come up with the features to build, right? Next question is, of course, how should we then bring our solution and features to life? So once again, this is a how question. So what you can do is that you can then come up with a design that accommodate all these features. So for example, let's say you want to have a design that supports indoor navigation. One of the features that also supports icons that show like the different locations, landmarks. You also want to support computer vision. How can we then fit this all into a certain UI, certain user interface, right? That's the question, right? So you want to have a design. Generally, there's 3 levels of fidelity, right? So there's these are what may not be what everyone agrees on, but more or less this is the rough industry definition. There's the wireframes, mockups, and prototypes. Okay, so wireframes is about it's not about colors, not about the fonts, not about the small design details, but about where everything should be placed on the screen. Right, so it's about the placement of things and what should be on the screen. So for some of you guys in Orbital, you guys who have already been doing this, right? So it's all about like sorting features from the feature list. And normally after you do 5 designs, you have more or less reached the ideal composition already. Normally the third or 4th one is the best one already. And some of the apps that you use for wireframing is Balsamic or Mockingbird. But some of them may be paid. I don't suggest paying for this because you can actually just draw on pen and paper. So there's no reason to pay for this, in my opinion. So wireframes is like, for example, what's the goal of this screen? What's the user supposed to see? How should the content be organized and so on? Right? Why should the primary message and logo be? And where will call to action be? So here's an example of the NUS Maps wireframe. So you can see it like I said, it doesn't look that great. I mean, it's just sketches, but more or less you can tell from each screen what should everything be, right? Like where should everything be placed at? For example, this is the starting screen, index 0. Then you go to index 1, you see that this is like more or less, there's icon here, just search bar here. More or less, I know exactly where everything should be placed, right? It's not that ambiguous to me. Here's another mockup for this COVID-19 contact tracing app. Basically, it's no longer, I don't think it's being used anymore, but last time it was used by the government. So here's I can't share too much details, but basically it's the same thing. What you can see is just that it's really nothing really about this color, and most some shading, but really it's about the placement and how things should, where things should be. It's not about the fonts. Fonts more or less a standard font. Yeah. So once you have once you have the wireframe, you can actually start moving on beyond prototyping already. Actually, you can move to validation already. But let's say you want to take it a step further, you can actually do what I call mockups. So mockups are basically higher fidelity designs, but they're static. So this is where you discuss stuff like colors and fonts and so on. So like I said, you don't need to actually do a mockup before you move on to the next stage. And some apps, they can do mockups with Figma and Adobe XD. Another one is actually called Sketch for Mac only. But Sketch is paid. Adobe XD used to be free, but then last year they changed to like some 7-day free trial. So no longer is also not free anymore. So Figma is like the more or less the free option nowadays. So I won't share too much about the UI. The UI I'll share about it next week. Yeah. So from this is a mockup for the same COVID-19 the contact tracing app. So you can see this is where you talk about the colors and you talk about the fonts and so on, the smaller design choices. Here's another app that that's also built. This is the mockup for the app. So here you can talk about, like, for example, should there be a shadow here? Is the button too round? What's the font? Is it like is the font okay? So it's more aesthetic, about the aesthetics already. And yeah, one last example here. So this is like the app that I built for my 2103. So this is the mockup for it. So it's more or less also it's just a design. Right? Then now that you have mockup, next thing you may want to simulate is how the interactions should change to affect the app. Right? So let's say I press the button, like where should the button bring me to, for example? And what should the animation be like? Is it like sliding? Or is it like a pop-up? Or is it like a fading, fade out? So this is where you do interactions with prototypes. So prototypes are actually high fidelity. Fidelity means like how close it is to the real thing, and like the level of detail. And it's very interactive designs. Some of them actually may look and behave like a real app. So this is like it's really to facilitate discussion of like animation and transition, right? So example would be the NUS maps, right? So this is the NUS maps prototype, right? So more or less you can see that this is you can see the different animation transitions, right? And we'll be doing something similar to this later on with Figma, right? And then you can see like yeah, basically this is actually all prototype. It's all design. It's no code written at all. Okay. And lastly, once you have either a wireframe, a prototype, or a mockup or prototype, you can then test with your users. So the question is, how will actual user interact with our designs, right? So know that once again the question is how will an actual user interact with our designs, right? So here you want to do user testing. So for user testing, the goal is to basically tell the user to do something in the app, but don't tell them how to do it. So for me, you can tell them, can you go and buy a product using this like design? So they'll act like they're using your app. So it's not a real app, it's just a design. You say, I press this button here. Then after you go next page, I press this button here, go next page. I'll press this button here. Then you can help to do the animation, the transition. Right. So you shouldn't tell them stuff like you shouldn't tell them like go to the product page, press the add to cart button, then go to checkout page and press checkout. You shouldn't tell them, you just tell them, can you go and buy a product and check it out? Right. So as they do the things, you need to observe the attitude and behavior. Right. So this is a lot of things are expressed by the users in a non-visual manner. So you need to watch them. For example, like, did they get stuck at any point in time? Or did they like hesitate somehow? Or all these points have to basically improve both the design and the user persona. And then at the end, you want to ask them for feedback. Yeah. So the trick is that you want to test one user at a time. You know, if you do like group testing, some users may see like, oh, wow, the guy very fast. Now I feel very stressed out. You know, am I like stupid? No. Or you see a person is like, you see some people doing like some actions, and they will also get influenced by the user. So you want to do it one by one, and you watch them for like to see any signals lah. Yeah. Then also let them know that you'll be observing them and taking notes, so they're comfortable with that. And please don't try to sell the product to them. If you're trying to do a sales pitch to them, you're basically defeating the purpose of user testing. Right? They should just be using your app as if they are like a new user who's just using it for the first time, and they should give you that. You should ask for their honest feedback lah. But if they don't tell them that this app is really not, it's quite terrible, it's not something I'll use, then of course you should take the feedback back and quickly we do improve the design, and then test it again. Right? So that's the point of this kind of testing. And normally after 5 rounds of testing, it's more or less you have 90% of the issues already. Because the fact is that generally you see that the same pattern will occur for the same after a while. Generally it's the same, because if there's a big problem in the design, almost all the users will basically get affected by the problem. Right? So more or less you can identify 90% of the problems or roadblocks within the first 5 users. So this is just one way of testing. There are other ways. So for example, there's what I call ethnographic testing, or basically in-context testing. For example, let's say you have a mock-up of the running app, right? You can't tell them to sit there in the chair and use, right? You should tell them, okay, can you go and try to go and run and actually try to use my app. Like try to use the design, like press the design a bit. If like they're running, then the button is so small, they are trying to like press it, but then they keep missing the button. Then clearly your app the design has some issues, right? Then another one is what they call if it's like a mobile, like a desktop app, right? You can do something called what they call click tail or mouse heat maps, basically. So you can track where their mouse is moving across the screen. Then another one is also what I call the heuristics testing. Basically, you can ask people or ask experts to give you feedback. Sometimes you can hire these experts on like Fiverr.com. Right? So probably Fiverr also has you can hire people to test. You can also hire people to give you feedback. And last but not least, of course, there's also diary testing, which is let's say your app is like a lifestyle app, like eating app, cooking app, exercising app. You may want them to use it in a day-to-day life and then write down some feedback as every day they write a bit of feedback. Then you collect the feedback at the end. So this is like many ways to test. So here's an example of a mouse heat map. So you can see that the hotspots, the heat here is high. Means that most people like to move their mouse here and hover here. So if you see there's a button that you have placed, but no one actually ever presses the button, there's no heat around the button at all, means something wrong, right? Means your button is not very obvious, or your button is useless, right? So this is more or less the goal of the mouse heat maps. Now here's an example of let me see, I'm sharing my volume, my sound. Yeah, I'm sharing my sound. Okay. Here's an example of what I call user testing. Let me see. Oh no. Let me reshare my screen then. Oh, what the heck? The video is not private. Oh, what happened? Oh, what the heck happened? Okay, I guess I can't really show you. But the basically what happens is that this is a father testing an app with his daughter. What happens is that basically he has designed many screens, which is just like drawings. Then his daughter they ask like, daughter, what would you do on the screen? And can you describe to me what you see on the screen? And then from there he can actually tell that the daughter missed out some parts. Means that the design is not very obvious for those parts. And then she'll oh, I want to press this. Then he'll then you take a paper away and move in the new paper, the new screen. Then she'll oh, I'll press this. Then he'll move the paper away and move in a new paper and so on. So this is the way you can test also. Just show the user, you can give the user a paper, then say, oh, what would you press? And they press a button, you press like a button, then you manually have to do the transitions. So this method is called the wizard of Oz also. Because you are basically the wizard that helps do suppose you are the one doing the magic of transitioning. So this method is called the wizard of Oz. And then now after you do all this testing, finally the last step is building it. Right. So I think this is a step that you guys are probably love the most. I'm sure that you guys are, I think you guys are all very, very good. I don't think building is a problem, right? As always, building is not a problem. It's about what to build, which is the tough question to answer. Then once you're done building, the next question you answer, of course, is that what does my experience need to accomplish next? And this brings you back to the first stage of understand. And then you can see how this is a cycle already. So you want to repeat and keep repeating until you have more and more features in the app. Right. And this is how you can get, you see very extensive apps out there, right? For example, like Grab, they update their app every 1 week or 2 weeks, right? So this is also what they're doing. They're also doing a cycle. Every week they're doing a cycle, right? Okay, so that's the end of my lecture. now the next part is more interesting. I think I'm going to. Unfortunately, I think this session will overrun. Looking at the timing, I'm very sorry. For those that need to leave on time later on, please feel free to leave. But for those that are willing to stay and hands-on together, that'll be great lah. It'll be good. But I know this session is recorded, so if you really want to you need to leave, go ahead and leave. Come back later and you can continue doing the hands-on based on the recording that I'll send over. Yeah. So today we're using Figma. So Figma is a very powerful application that helps you do prototyping, mockups, and wireframes and so on. And what are we going to do today? Okay, so this is a volume statement. We're helping our dear Tomcat, Ashley. Right, so our Tomcat needs help. So he's feeling a bit troubled. So he wants to reconnect with his friends. Right? So now that it's post-COVID season, he has found that he has lost contact with a lot of his old friends. So he heard that Telegram is quite popular these days, so he wants to give it a try. So help him build a Telegram profile page so that he can find his old friends. So what are we going to do today? We'll be building these over here. Let me play the video. So as you can see, it'll be interactive prototype. That you can see over here. Yeah. So I have sent all the files that I needed for this is inside the link I sent to the chat. I'll send the message to the chat again. And I have a template provided already as well. So I'm using the template this time because I think in the past I've done this before. And if you want to build this from scratch, it took too long and people couldn't follow. So I give a template more or less so it's easier for everyone to follow also. Yeah, so no, this is purely a design. This 100% a Figma mockup. Okay, so let us get started. Let me stop sharing. And let me share something else. Okay, first let us take a 4-minute break. Can you come at 2:30? I think everyone's a bit tired. I've been talking on for like 1.5 hours already. So let's take a 4-minute break. I'll send the instructions to the chat again. So for those who haven't done the setup instructions, please do so. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Talking too much already. So I think the fun part took longer than I expected. Okay, so 2:30 we'll resume we'll head over to the Figma. So do set follow instructions that I sent to the chat. Let me know if there's any problems with the instructions I sent. Especially those on Windows, because I'm not sure if the font download works for the Windows users. I'm not sure about Linux users. I think Figma desktop does not work for Linux. So I suggest using I hope you're using Mac or Windows lah. Yeah. Let me know if the font doesn't work. Worst come to worst, can use some substitute font as a replacement. Yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for joining today lah. Hope you guys are having fun for the first few weeks of summer. I know year one summer is often a very like not sure if you're doing the right thing or whatever lah. I think sometimes it's a bit worrying experience. But I think take it easy, take it slow, and then try to focus on the learning. Try to learn as much as you can this summer. And then put those skills to use lah over the next few years. Yeah. So I think and once again, let me know if you have any questions about about summer, about your projects, about UI UX. Okay, and feel free to consult me with me if you have any question about design. If you have question about internships, again, consult me and so on. Yeah. I think I might have seen some guys doing tips too. Ken. So let me just share my screen quickly to run through the setup steps a bit, very briefly. So just make sure everyone's on the same page. So I have this folder called UI UX Workshop Assets Figma. Please download this whole folder. Just download the whole thing. You need the icons and the photos at least and the template for Figma. The final screens honestly you can add heavy if you want. If not, it's also fine. Then if you are on the Mac, please use the Apple website to download the font. What we need is SF Pro, specifically SF Pro Text. So SF Pro has a few different types now. If you don't have you're not on Mac, you can download the SF Pro Text directly, which is the OTF. I forgot what it stands for. Something true font, I think. Download the OTF file and then you can double click it, I think, on the com, and you'll load into your font registry on the com. And then next is you should download Figma desktop first. So we need this so they can use our own custom fonts. And generally, Figma desktop doesn't lag as much as the website version. The website version got a bit of lag sometimes. And last but not least, there's the auto grid. So this is very powerful functionality that we'll be using twice today. Okay, yeah, I hope everyone has more or less done the setup already. I think quite straightforward. I will just jump straight into the Figma creation. Is it okay, everyone? Yeah. Let me know if I'm too fast. At any point in time, what I'll do is that I'll almost do everything twice. Everything is a bit complicated. I'll just do it twice. So if you didn't catch it first time, you can wait for me to repeat a second time. But more or less, things should be okay. So let's get started. Let me turn off my notice and everything also. And let me close some windows just in case anything pops out unexpectedly. I just want to prevent that from happening. And yeah, we're more or less ready. So let's get started. So I'll be showing my desktop. So my desktop is a bit messy. So the main thing that we're using today is the Figma desktop app, which will look something like this. So you please log in. You will need to log in at first. Right. So I just downloaded the assets myself. So you can see that there's can see my screen, Ivan. Let me know if you can see it or there's some issue. So first thing I want to do is you want to drag the Figma template. Let's change it to icons. Drag a Figma template into your Figma, right? So there's a template of Fig in the downloads, the Google Drive download. Please drag it in, and you see you're importing. Okay, once you're done importing, you can just open it up, and you'll see something like this. So note that I really have to set up some stuff for you already. So from what you can see, there's a bar below here, which is basically is a replica of the iOS look lah. Right, I've just set up some of the stuff already. So like I said, these are things that take a lot of time. Sorry. Okay, Ken. I just got feedback that I should slow down. So I'll repeat again. So after you have downloaded the files from the Google Drive, right? You can download. You extract out the files. Sheesh, how do I have so many windows open? Yeah. Then you see there's a template of Fig. Just gotta drag and drop it into your desktop app. So I hope you guys are using the Figma desktop app. So just drag and drop it in. Okay. Then you show something like importing. Okay. So once it's imported, you should see it show up below here on the bottom left. at the top of the files, all files. You just double click it. So double click it should bring you to the template page. Okay, I hope everyone can reach this point. Okay, so more or less you see that there is this page has most of the things set already, but we're missing a few things here. Right? So one thing we're missing is that we're missing our dear cat, the display photo, the DP, right? We're also missing some buttons below here, which is the buttons with the add, the call, all these functions, all these buttons. Actually, let me bring up the final design just so you guys can see how it looks like. Yeah, it should look something like this, right? Should have the call, video, mute, search, and more. Okay. So let me check it out. Let me check it out somewhere else so I can refer to it along the way. So this is all things, and then we also adding we're missing the username here, and also missing the media below, which is the photos. So let us try to add these things in one by one. Okay. So first thing, let's start by adding the display photo. Okay. So you notice, okay, so maybe I just share a bit about how to use use this Figma. So to move on, you can just scroll. If you're using a touchpad, you can scroll easily. Otherwise, if you're on the mouse, you can press the spacebar button, hold down spacebar, and then click and drag. So you can move on Figma like this. So either scroll, if you're using touch bar, you can scroll. Otherwise, you can spacebar and drag. Then okay, yeah, you can scroll up and down using your mouse wheel also. Then to zoom in, you can hold down on Mac is command. On Windows, it should be control, I believe. You can press down command or control, and then you scroll. So here I'm pressing down command, then I'm scrolling out, in and out. So hold down command and then press it, scroll in and out. But for Windows, it will be control. Hold down control and then scroll in and out. Oh, also can use control on Mac. Mac also can use control. Yeah, but normally command is more intuitive. These two things are more or less standardized across all design applications. So for those of you guys who have used Photoshop, it's used before I think a lot of design apps out there. Actually, you realize it's almost all the same. Miro also is similar. You can spacebar and drag, or control and scroll to zoom. So actually, this is more or less a standard experience. Okay, but FYI, so Figma sometimes a bit buggy with the zooming. So sometimes you may have to double click out like somewhere outside somewhere outside of these screens. Double click somewhere, then you can do things already. Because Figma is a bit buggy sometimes. Sometimes you think you're moving, right? But you're actually dragging something. So you should double click out, then you move. Yeah, so this is more or less the two main actions you'll be doing a lot. Of course, if you're on touchpad, everything can be done using your touchpad. You can zoom in. To zoom, just move your fingers in and out, right? Touchpad. Okay, so let's get started with the display photo. So we don't need to make it picture perfect at this point. We just do a approximate one. So what you want to do is you want to add a circle on top, right? Add a circle shape. So one way is to go to shape tools. So you see on top there's a move tools. There's a region frame tools, this is a frame, but when they say frame, this whole screen here, this whole board is called what I call a frame. And what you want is the shape tools, right? There's a pen tool which you won't be using today, and there's also a text tool that you'll be using later. But what you want is the shape tool. So click the drop down arrow and select ellipse. Okay, I say again. So shape tool at the top left corner, drop down arrow, ellipse. Okay. And we want to hold shift, press down shift and hold it, and drag your circle. Oh, sorry. Okay. So you may want to drag it outside of this, like somewhere else here, like from here. So if you drag it on top here, sometimes Figma has this thing where they try to add it into into the group. So here you can see that I have grouped some components up together. It's like a React. I mean, you guys that use this before, like CSS, HTML, you also need to group components together. Right? Same concept of grouping. So what you want to do is you want to select somewhere here like empty space here. Just press, just drag and drag to maybe here. Then what you want to do is you want to shift it. The width you can, I think, if I'm not wrong, the dimension is 96 times 96. So you can see there's a 92.92 bottom below this circle and you select it. On the right side, you can see under the design tab, here there's design, right? You see there's selector, right? There's prototype also, but I don't want to use that now. Design, you see there's a width and a height. And you see that you can constrain the ratio. Right? You can fix the ratio. So here we want to change our width to 96 and height doesn't really change to 96 also. So this is the this is the value that we want. Now we can drag this ellipse up and centralize it. So notice that Figma does this thing very nicely, which is that when you move it to near the center, it will tell you that you are in the center. So you see this red line, you see the red line going across the board, a very vertical line. That tells you that you are in the middle of you're in the middle of this screen. You're aligned to the middle. So then let go. Okay, so I'll say again. So from very beginning, ellipse 2, hold down shift. The reason why you want to shift is shift will make it such that it's instead of an oval, it's a circle. Hold down shift. Make it 96 and 96. If it's not 96, you can change it manually over here. On the right side, there's a design panel. You can put type 96, enter. Then drag it until it's in the middle of the screen. More or less can it. Don't have to be too precise here. Okay, so now we have a circle. I hope everyone can get to this point. Don't be too precise, like I said. Then how do we insert the photo of the cat into the circle? So this part is something that one of my students taught me actually. Remember just now we downloaded the folder, right? The zip that we unzip already. Go to the folder, the photos folder. You'll see a collection of cat photos that I've taken of Ashley over the past 3 years of my life here. Anyways, it's my own collection. I quite like cats, I guess. So you can select the cat one, or select any one that you like, whichever you want, you put as a DP. Choose one that you like the most. I like cat one. So select it, copy it. So Control C or Command C. Then go back to your board, press the circle, and paste. And voila, it takes up the perfect, it automatically fills up the circle. I repeat again. So go to in the folder you downloaded, go to the photos. Just select any one of these photos that you like. Control C or Command C. If you're on Windows, Control C. If you're on Mac, Command C. Just copy the photo. Go to back to the Figma. Select the circle, and paste. It's as simple as that. Okay, so more or less, you're like, wow, it's quite convenient. Okay, can So this is the down cat DP done already for now for this screen. Next is you want to add the buttons. Okay, I'll wait for like 1 minute, but I want to reach this stage first. I know sometimes it's easier to show than to follow. So I'll wait like 1 minute. Yeah, let me know if I need to repeat any steps. Just send me a text, a chat message. You can PM me if you pass it a bit. You can just direct message me. Otherwise, you can just send to everyone also. Yeah, but more or less you should reach this stage quite fast. Not so quite fast, but more or less let's need to do the steps I described. Okay. The next step is a bit more complex. So we need to create, if you look at the design again, right? We need to create these buttons, right? Call, video, mute, search, and more. It sounds like it's quite tough, but don't worry, it's not that bad. We're going to use this thing called the auto grid. So what's auto grid about? Auto grid is basically allow you to create a grid of things easily. It's basically tessellation, right? It's basically like repeat something easily. So let's start by adding one of the buttons. Okay. So you see below there's 5 buttons here. Right? We want to add one button first. So let's start with we start with the rectangle tool. So you need to add a rectangle first. So we go to shape tool again. Let's drop down rectangle. And then we draw a rectangle at this point. Just draw one anyhow, draw one for now. I'll tell you the dimensions. So a rectangle, well, the dimensions that we want is the width will be 66 and height will be 55. I'll send the chat. I'll send the chat. So I'll say again. Hang on. button box, width is 66, height is 55. Okay. Then you can move it such that you can remember that Figma always has this kind of guiding lines. So they have this kind of guiding red lines. You can just move it until it's more or less some, like you can see it's aligned against same as the box below, the white box below. The height wise, you can up to you, like just more or less can. Don't be too precise. Okay, then we want to style this box a bit, right? So for those that do like front end, you know that it's like CSS or like we are using Flutter, it's also styling and so on. There's always styling. So first we want to change the color. Right now the color is gray, but it's supposed to be white, right? So you go to the fill here, the bottom here. So right side, then notice there's a design panel. So click the box first, make sure you click the rectangle. You see a design panel at the right. There's a fill. Click the color. You click the box, the color square here. You pop out a color selector. Go to the white. Okay, go drag the color selector to white, to the top left corner, which is white. Okay, and press enter lock 10. Oh, just close, sorry. Sorry, actually don't press enter. Sorry, I take it back. Don't press enter. After you drag it to the top left, just close the box. Okay, so I will repeat again. I'll repeat one more time. Select the rectangle. You should see the design panel on the right side shows up. You see there's a fill section below. Press the fill, the gray color box here. We should pop out the color picker and then drag it to the top left to get white color. And then close the box. Close the color picker. Okay, this one can. Then now we need to give a bit of curvature to our box, right? Right now the edges are sharp. But that's not our buttons were rounded. How do you get rounded edges? So the answer is there's this thing here under design on the top panel here on top right. You see this line, there's a curve. It looks like a curved corner. That is exactly what we need to change. It's called the corner radius. So you guys might have heard of border radius in CSS, right? So this is the same thing, exactly the same thing. Corner radius. So the corner radius we want to use is 10. 10, so I'll send to a chat again. Corner radius 10. So I'll show again. Where do you find this option? So you select the box, go to the right side. You see under design, there is the dimensions, this X and Y coordinate of this positioning. Then the width and the height. Then there's an angle, rotation, right? How much is rotated? Right now it's 0 degrees, of course. And corner radius. So corner radius change to 10. And voila. We are getting there yet. Okay. I hope everyone can get to this stage. Then next is we want to add an icon to this button. So go back to our downloaded photos. Go back to the main directory, the main folder. Downloaded folder, there's icons folder also. So see there's icons, right? Double click it. You should see there's a few SVG files over here. So SVG files, I won't go into too much details, but more or less you can think of it as instead of pixels, their math is actually defined by math. They're actually the curves and everything is all defined by mathematical notation. It's all math. So SVG allows you to scale up and down without losing resolution. Doesn't look pixelated because it's just math curves. I mean, math curve, I can expand it or squeeze it. I mean, there's no pixelation going on. So this is the power of SVGs. So for those of you doing front end, you probably use SVGs at some point in your life. So let's use a phone. Let's take the phone SVG and drag it in. Okay, drag it to the design. You see it's pop up here, and you can scale it up. You can scale it down. So you scale, drag the corner, drag this corner over here, and hold Shift as always. So Shift basically fixes the ratio of the dimensions. So in this case, hold Shift and drag. If you don't hold Shift, right, your thing may become like a banana, like flattened banana, or like a, I don't know, you look weird. So you hold Shift, you constrain the dimensions to follow the same ratio. You don't have to be too precise the dimensions, the size for this one. That's more or less aga. 10 a day. I think this one we don't have time to be too precise for our session today. So once you have this, then the next question is wow, but this black, right? I want like a blue color. I mean, the button is blue. So this is another thing about SVGs is that SVG is very easy to change design. No, change color. Because ultimately, like I said, it's just math with color, with some color like set, right? So you just change color. So you go to you select the SVG, go to the right side, design panel, scroll down. You see a selection color. You change the black, select it's not really black, it's like semi-black. And we want blue. So I'll give you the blue color code. Let me just give it to you. I'll send you guys a code to use on the chat. I'll read it also, so you guys can just type it in. It's 007 AFE. So select this, selection colors, then type in 007 AFE. Sorry, yeah, I typed it wrongly. Yeah, then look at it, looks bright blue like this. It looks pretty nice lah. Okay, I'll repeat one more time from the beginning again. So drag the phone.svg over from the folder into your Figma. Scale it down by holding shift and dragging it down up like that. Drag it over to like somewhere in the middle of the button. So once again, you see there's a lot of guiding lines that Figma shows, which is very useful. Okay, and then change the color to 007 AFE. So the color, change color, click the icon SVG, scroll down to the design panel and then change. And last but not least, let us also add in the text. Okay, so we have the phone button here, we have the rectangle already, we just need to add in the text. Okay, so maybe I'll wait like 30 seconds for people to catch up. Let me know if any questions or once again, if I'm too fast or I'm too slow, I think let me know. I'm trying to slow down because I think, like I said, it's always harder to follow than to teach, than to actually do it yourself. So I'm trying to repeat myself as much as I can. So for those that are very, very fast, you guys have used Figma before, you'll be like, wow, this guy's so slow. I was like, I just keep repeating myself. But yeah, do understand that there may be some people here who are new. Yeah. Okay. Once done, click the text. So you see that just now we had a shapes tool, right? Now we want to have the text tool. So you see the T at the top left. So there's move tools, there's a region tools, there's a shape tools, there's pen tools, drawing tools, and there's a hand tool and so on. But we want the text. So click text, come down here, and just press anywhere, press here, and type call. Okay, type out call. And then for the font, change it to, you might have a lot of fonts, but change it to SF Pro Text. Okay, so to change the font, highlight, so double click text to highlight it. Once again, design panel. So almost everything related to designing the item, right? Go to design panel, scroll down to below, there's a text section, SF Pro Text. Okay, then, I mean, you may not show SF Pro Text, you'll show the font family here. So just scroll down until you find or scroll up until you find the SF Pro Text and change to this. And now, of course, we need to change the color, right? Same thing. So the same, I won't repeat myself for this one. It's the exact same thing. Okay, so change the fill. Scroll down, change the fill. Paste 007 AFE. 007 AFE. I'll tell you the font size to use also. So the font size for this one will be 11. So to change font size, you see there's a regular. So below the SF Pro Text, there's a regular, which is about like whether it's a bold or medium or semi-bold and so on, or italics and so on. Then on the right side, there's a number 16, right? Or something. It may not be 16 for you, but 16 for me. Right. Change it to 11. Okay. Then below here, you see there's this thing called the letter spacing. So below the 11, there's letter spacing. So you guys, those that use CSS a lot for text styling, you know what letter spacing is also, because there's also CSS property for that. But let's change it to 0.6. Negative 0.6. So minus 0.6. Can So I repeat again. Font change to 11, font size 11, negative 0.6. Keep it as regular. Regular is okay. And yeah, if you want, you can center the text also. So you see below there's the text align center, text aligns left and right. Center also, because this button should be centered. And then last but not least, drag it until it's at the middle here. We'll take like it aligns out with the middle of the center of the button. Okay, I'll repeat myself one last time, but for the text part, I'll just do it quickly, very fast. So click the text tool on top left, press this thing, type and type call. Then go down, go to the right side design panel, change the font size to be 11, change the family to be SF4 text, then change the field to be 007 AFE, change the letter spacing to be -0.6. This one optional. If you want, you can also skip it at 0. It's fine. Just that it looks a bit weird when it's too wide, like too spaced out. So normally -0.6 is better. Then drag the thing until it's aligned in the center. More or less, this is what you want. Like I said, I don't want to go for pixel perfection here, so I just want to more or less aga-aga lah. So now you have this. Let us. Okay, I give you like 20 seconds. I'm a bit running out of time. I'm very worried lah. I may skip this part. I think this part you guys can more or less tell how to do it. I actually want to focus on the bottom part, which is more interesting, I think, for everyone. Okay. So now that we have done up this part, let us group these three things together into a group, and then so that it's more easier to manage. So for those guys who do a lot of design, who do a lot of even PowerPoint slides creation, right? PowerPoint slides also you want to group things sometimes, right? Those guys who have like done a lot of like even React, you also create components, right? You use like Flutter, you use also components, you use any sort of framework. Angular, Vue, I mean, all about creating components. You want to group things to create together, right? So we also want to do the same thing here. So let's group the core text, the phone icon, and the rectangle. We select. So how to select? So hold down Shift and select and select from this one to this. Or you can hold for Mac. I mean, I know Mac you can also press Command and select which is fine. But Shift is better. Hold down Shift, select all three layers. So make sure you on the left side you are seeing layers. If you're on assets, you'll see something else like this. So click layers. Make sure you're on layers. Okay, say again. Make sure you're on layers. On the tab. Then 1, 2, 3. Select these three. And then right click them and click group selection. I say again. 1, 2, 3. Click them. Right click group selection. Okay. Quite straightforward. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Now we want to repeat 5 times to the right. Although we can do it manually by copy pasting everything, let's try to do it a bit more smartly. So let's go to, so you click on this item, click on the group. So we let's call this name call button. Okay. So that we know that it's call button. We don't want to I don't want to like everything was called group one. Like that we also don't use button restraint. Okay, so we call it call button. You select it. Go to the Figma icon over here on the top left, main menu. Press the drop down. Okay, you should see that there is a plugins here, and there should be an auto grid that you have just added just now. You have not added auto grid, please go and add now, or you can copy paste lah. You can follow by copy pasting also can. This is I mean last resort, but it's also okay. So let's click. So click auto grid. We should pop out this pop out here. Configure your new auto grid. Okay, so this is the number of rows and number of columns. So for this one, we only want 1 row, because we only want 1 row of 5 buttons. But now we only want 5 columns. Okay. The spacing is actually correct. This is actually supporting is 8. So you want to have 8 spacing. And you want to disable auto update. So it's again 1 row, 5 columns, spacing in between. This is the spacing. It's set to 8. And turn off auto update, and then click create new grid. And like whoa, you have 5 buttons already. Okay, quite easy. Seems like actually quite easy to do this thing. Okay, so the first one is of course the call button. Okay, I repeat one more time. So I'll do one more time. So from beginning again, from the okay. So first you select the button that you have created, the group. Go to the Figma menu. Go to plugins. Click auto grid. Then select to 1 row, 5 columns and spacing of 8. 8 pixels is correct. And turn off auto update and create a new grid. And voila. Okay. It's a little bit off. You can see that this vice actually is a little bit fatter, like goes beyond. You can move a bit later here and there. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. It's a little bit imperfect for now. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Then now we want to change the buttons to be the correct buttons for each of them. So you see that there's five core buttons, right? What you can do is you can go down to this one. Let's say this button. So to get to this button, you double click again, then double click again until you finally hit the right layer. So every time double click, it goes into the group. Then you double click again, it goes into the group again. So you see there's a few level of grouping here. It's a few level of nesting. So every time double click, it goes down one more layer of nesting. So this one we change to video. Okay. Icon we change later. Come to this one, we change this one to mute. This one we change to search. And this one change to more. Okay, I show again. So to get to this layer, you have to double click, then double click, then you are there. Okay, so you need to keep double clicking to get to the nested layer. Then mute, video, mute, search, more. Oh, sorry, I missed your question, Hans. Sorry, yeah. So to show how to grid, top left corner, plugins auto grid. Yeah, please install auto grid. I sent an instruction in the chat before, so I think you can take a look at that. Yeah. Then now you guys should know the drill. So we now want to add the icons in, right? So this part I'll just do one of the icons. I don't do too many. Later you guys can spend time more, do the best. So to change the icon for this one, just gotta go back to here. So let's find the video.svg here. Can drag it into the group. So you see that previously before I already selected this group already. I want to drag it into this group specifically. So if I let go here. Okay, something has gone wrong. Sorry. Let's try again. So if I go here and let go. Okay. Video icon is huge. Okay, actually it may not be a good idea to drag into the group. Sorry, I take it back. So let's drag it out. Let's drag it somewhere else. So we take the video icon, video.svg, drag it somewhere else. Okay. See the icon is huge, right? It's fine. We basically want to scale it down. Once again, hold shift and scale. So you will notice this is the same steps as before. Actually same steps. Scale down to a reasonable size. Oh shucks. Yeah. Then change the color. So once again, the color I sent to chat 007 AFE, I think. Is it? Yes, I did memorize it from saying so many times. So change the color to 007 AFE. Okay. Let's get a little bit more. And then I want to drag it in. I want it to be part of this. I want it to be part of this group. But right now it's a bit tricky because it's outside of the group now. You see my video icon is outside of this grid. So what I can do is instead of trying to do it on inside here, which will mess up the grid, I can drag the layer and bring it down. Once again, I go to the left side, there's a layer, so I drag the layer, I bring it to the right position and let go. And you can see now it's inside the. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. Yeah, but you can see that it's now inside the thing. So just now you saw that because what the grid does is that it tries to balance things out a bit. So just now, cause my video is in this layer, but it was it's like relative to the button is very high up, right? So it's actually causing this grid to like look very weird. So what I'll do is want to drag it. It's quite interesting. I'm dragging the icon actually, but it's moving the button. So I just drag it until it reaches the button, middle of the button. And then I can just delete notice there's the phone one icon here, delete it. And then we are left with the video button. Yeah. And let's rename this to the video button. Let's call it video. Okay, so actually we just need to repeat this 3 more times, which I'm not going to do it now because it's a bit like more or less, I think you guys get that concept. And a bit pointless for me to share this, like spend like 10 minutes doing this. So I shall maybe pause for like 1 minute here for everyone to kind of more or less catch up to this point before I move on to the next step. Note that it's not perfect at this point. Understandably, it's not perfect, but It works for now lah. Okay. Then now let's wait 10 more seconds, I guess. Then now let's do the more fun part, which is the photos lah. So we have media. So those of you guys, I think most of you guys use Telegram. So you know that here you can see the media that you have shared with this person. So our dear Yutan actually sends quite a few photos. So let us try to add the photos into this Yutan media library. So what we want to do is the concept is very similar. So those of you guys who have figured out like the way we do the DP is the way we're going to do here. So what I do is we create a square. So once again, hold the shift button, create a square. The dimension of the square we want it to be 129.3. I know it's very specific, but yes, I want it to be 129. We want it to be 129.3. So over here you can see, you let go of the after you do a square, you do 129.3. It's okay to do a decimal point. So I'll repeat again. So I'll use a shape tool on the left, top left, rectangle. Drag and I can draw any rectangle I like a square I like. So once you hold shift and then you hold shift to make sure that it's a square. Then change it to 129.3 for height and width. And then drag it somewhere like here. I try to align it to the such that it's like it's against the side of the screen, and then it's like it's also against this single line of this gray line on top there. And those of you guys who have so more or less see where I'm going with this. Let's auto grid one more time, right? And actually this is where auto grid really shines. So instead of copy pasting this 8 more times, which is not say cannot, you can if you want. We can just do auto grid again. So go to top left button, plugins auto grid. 3, the number of rows will be 3, number of columns will be 3 also. The width, the spacing, we want 1. The spacing is 1 pixel. We can turn off auto update. It's up to you. I'm actually not very sure what this does, but I would rather us do things manually than auto updating. But I think actually can turn on if you want. Then create new grid. And wow, it's as if the media library is it's just automatically done with it, right? It's like there. So this is really how easy it is. Okay. And now let us add in the cat photos from our dear Ash's collection. So once again, go back to the download the folder files. Go to the photos folder and select. I'll start pasting. So I copy cat 2. I'll paste this. I'll double click until I hit this square. So once again, remember need to double click to enter. Don't double click too much. If you ever double click too much and you see this lines thing, right? It means that you are modifying the corners, like the positioning of it. So you can just click done. And then you can see top left, there's a done button here. Click it to get out of the mode. So if you ever click until it becomes like this, click done on top to get out. Yeah, but once you click it, you can paste. Boom. One photo in. I copy cat 3. Oops. Paste. Cat 4. Paste. Then here, with this rectangle. Cat 5. Paste. Cat 6. Paste. Cat 7. Paste. Cat 8. Paste. Cat 9. Paste. And cat 10. Paste. quite amazing. Like wow, we're done with Telegram. We're more or less done at the bottom part. Yeah. So notice that I left like I said, the username part. I think I won't go into much details. You guys can more or less apply what you have done already. Actually, you can just copy paste this down if you want. You want to copy paste it down. I don't want to do it now. I think I'd rather do less things but share more about interesting stuff. Okay. Can everyone reach this stage? I'll wait like 1 more minute, but I want to do this slowly. So once again, create one rectangle. I'll send the chat rectangle dimensions. So media rectangle dimension is a 129.3 times 129.3. Then auto grid. So media auto grid is spacing of 1. And once you tessellate it, you have nine of those boxes. You just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. You have the media gallery done. Okay, looking good so far, but we want to see animations. I think most guys are like, wow, okay, sure, yeah, it looks good, but like, where's the transition? Where's the animation? We want to see that. So let's actually do that. So to do that, we need to make sure that it goes everything here. We need to describe the end state here. Okay, so maybe before I jump into it, let me just explain how this works. So Figma has this functionality called auto animate. So what auto animate does is that it looks at two boards, two of these screens. It sees it finds the differences between these two screens, and then it animates all these differences. So for example, if your item was already at the top left corner, and then the next screen is at the bottom right, you animate the item to shift from top left to bottom right. So actually, Figma has this functionality for us already. It's called the auto animate. Actually, it's called that. Yeah, I guess it's called they call it smart animate. Sorry, smart animate. Adobe XD calls it auto animate. Yeah, so same thing. So basically, they compare the different states and then they animate it. But for that to work, the identity of the things on the screen must be the same. So what do I mean by identity? Identity is like it's as if your CS 2030 stuff, right? If I want them to know that this thing has become a square on the next page, means that the circle became a square, I need to make sure that they know that this is the same object as a square. So how do I make that happen? I copy this and I paste it here. I copy this from this screen and I paste it to screen 2. Okay. Doing that, what Figma does is that they will know that this thing and this thing, they're actually two references to the same object. Have you ever this way? More or less, this is the 2030 way of looking at Figma. These are basically two references to the same object. But if this reference then if this changes, I'll know that they are the same object, just that they have been mutated. And now I will need to animate the mutation. Okay, so that's the concept. Okay, so wait, before I do that, come back to screen 1. You can drag the home indicator, back and edit and status bar, these 3 things. So yeah, you can collapse the layers, but you can press the drop down and collapse. Drag these 3 things on top, so that you can see that this status bar thing appears on top of the grid. If not, otherwise your status bar will be gone. Like the layer is like it's basically top, you can see of it as I'm looking from top down. So if there's a layer on top of me and it blocks me, then I'm blocked, right? So we want the home indicator to show here. And the status bar on top should be on top as well. So these 3, so I show again. So you select these 3 layers, status bar, back and edit, and home indicator, and drag these 3 layers to the topmost of the screen 1. So these are layers on screen 1. Then you can collapse the layers also. Okay, let's come back to the screens. So like I said, we need to copy paste stuff over to show that it has animated. Okay. Okay, yeah, before that, once again, the ellipse also, can you move it down to below, to the bottommost layer? The ellipse 1, basically this display photo, move the layer down to the bottommost. I don't think it affects much, but I just want to make it 100% sure. So move it down also to the bottommost layer. Okay, small thing, doesn't matter too much. So now we copy paste stuff over. So what do we need to copy paste? We need to copy paste this Uton cat. So we just we just select this, copy, select. So go to screen 1, select, copy, select screen 2 you must select the screen 2 frame and paste. And you show on screen 2. If you don't select screen 2 frame, if you are still selecting screen 1, you paste, right? You paste on top of screen 1. Then you have two of the same thing. So you want to paste on top of screen 2. Same thing. Select this grid, copy, and paste. You'll paste to the exact same position that it was on this screen. Okay. And last but not least, select this grid, copy, and paste. Oh shucks, I pasted the wrong. Yeah, so select screen 2 and paste. Okay, so you might wonder that, wow, but this is in covering stuff now, right? It's okay. So this is where we will adjust stuff. So first, let's adjust the bottom. Let's adjust the bottom grid first, because it's the most obviously wrong place, right? So we drag it down. Just drag it down. So to drag it in a single axis, so instead of doing like multi-axis dragging, you can drag and hold shift. So for example, doing this will make sure that it only either moves horizontally or vertically. So here I'm only making it horizontally. So I'm pressing and holding shift, and I drag it down until it aligns with the line again. Okay. Yeah, so I say again. So after I paste it on the screen, I select it, I drag it, and I hold shift to drag it only vertically. And I line it down here. Next, I want to drag this down also. So this was originally, it should be sticking on top of this. So I drag this down also, I hold shift also, I drag it down. Don't have to be perfect. Like I said, you can be a bit slightly different spacing, it's fine. We're not trying to go for perfection here. Okay. Then last but not the least, we need to animate this cat photo. Sorry, so before we do that, let us drag, once again, we drag the home indicator, status bar, and back edit. Okay, so for that, we need to drag 4 things. Home indicator, back edit, DP slider. DP means the slider on top that you see on top here. There's a white slider actually. It's a white slider here. And status bar, drag them to the topmost layers again. And once again, this cat photo that you have copied or pasted over, also drag it to the bottom layer. And because this text needs to be on top of the photo. So if you don't drag it to the bottom, it will cover the text. Okay, so I say again, so you drag the home indicator, back edit, DP slider, and status bar to the topmost layers of the screen 2. And then the ellipse 1 that you copy over, you can drag it down to the bottommost layer. Same concept as the Photoshop, PowerPoint. The PowerPoint also got the move to front, move to back, right? Bring to front. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's layering, right? Okay. But for this one, the question is, how do we make this into a square? I mean, I need to make it a square, right? So this is back to what I call just now we had the SVG, right? Which is about vectors. So the V in vector is I think it's V in SVG is vectors. So vectors basically is math, right? It's basically describing the path that the line should take. So if you look at this circle, if you double click in this circle, you just see that there's actually 4 points here. And actually, these are all vectors that describe how the path, how this shape should be looking like. So actually, it's only a circle because these 4 points has this handlebars here. That basically tells me how this path should look like. Okay. So now that notice that there's exactly 4 points here. And how many points does the square have? It's also 4 points, right? So actually, what we can do is we drag this to be the 4 corners of the square. Okay, so what we do is let's drag one of them. So let's drag this one first. So for this, you guys can just watch first. So you drag to the, like let's say I drag it to the top left corner of the screen. Aga again. Then notice that one of the bars is already vertical, so that's fine. Right. Then the other bar, we need to drag it such that it becomes horizontal. So when you drag, you automatically, when you're on top of the, against the edge of the screen, you'll not automatically make it like there'll be a line to tell you that this is vertical, horizontal, or basically aligned with the screen. Okay, so you just need to do this for 4 corners. So the bottom one is a bit tricky because you need to make it such that it goes behind the use down cat text like this. So once again, drag it such that it's aligned, and then this one is already vertical. So for each point of the 2 handlebars, you only need to drag one of them because the other one is already in the right direction. So yeah, just do that. And I just repeat again. So last point, you can try to align with the other 2 points. So you see that Figma does a lot of stuff for you. So from here you can see that right now I'm already aligned with the top and bottom point. And voila. We have our DP. I'll repeat again. So I'll repeat one more time. I think this one for those that already got it already, just go ahead and continue doing. For those that are like a bit lost, I'll show again. So once again, if you have a circle, double click into a circle, you'll see that there's this like greedy, like this slash lines, diagonal lines covering the photo. And you notice there's 4 points around it. So what I want to do is want to drag the 4 points of that describe this circle to become the 4 points of 4 corners of the square. So we drag this up here. And then we align. Then you notice that these two have like what I call handlebars. But effectively it's like you can drag it to kind of like change the slope of the line. So we want to make it such that the two handlebars form a perpendicular corner, right? Because it's a square. Then we do the same for the bottom point here. Sorry, excuse me. Ultimately, Figma will tell you when it's like horizontal or vertical. So Figma is quite powerful for that. So you can just more or less just drag more or less like a agar drag there. And whoa, there you go. Your cat DP is here. Okay, but you notice it's not very perfect because you notice that the so once you're done, you can press done on top left, done. Then you are done. But notice that these things were hard to view, right? The status bar and the back edit. So we want to change the color for this also. So how do we do it? It's the same editing we have been doing so far. Double click until you hit the text. Go to the fill. Go over to the fill. Make it white. Oh shucks. Oops. Yeah, make it white. I'll demo again with this line. So this one is also an icon. So you click it. You just need to let's say double click until you reach the icon. Then you change the fill to white. Also. Oh, what happened? Oh, I think I deleted something. Oops. Yeah, change the fill to white. What the heck? How come it's like just becoming invisible or something? Strange, huh? Hey. What's going on? How come I change it? Strange. Never mind. That button is not behaving for some reason. Well, I guess some stuff goes wrong a bit sometimes here and there. It may be that I don't have the symbol, but okay, whatever, doesn't matter. I think I'll leave the icon as is. Unfortunately, I can't change color for some reason. Then change this one. The edit button also change. Top bar also, the status bar can also change. So you just double click until you reach the white layer. Then you change the color to white. So same thing for this one. This one a bit tricky. So this one, notice that okay, one of them is a bit tricky. Hang on. This one also can change one. The Wi-Fi icons I think should be fine. The signal icons also should be fine. It's the battery icon that's a bit tricky. So battery has a stroke and a fill. So just we need to change both So fill change to white. Stroke, oh shucks. Stroke also change to white So stroke is the thing around it There's you notice there's this transparent looking thing around it. That's a stroke. So we want to change to white also. Okay. Now comes the magic. Okay, so we are more or less done with the design. The design looks okay. You're missing some stuff in there. It's fine. What I want to do is do the prototyping, right? So here, what we have right now is what I call a mock-up. Means static. It looks quite realistic, but ultimately it's still a static design. What I want to do is to make it a prototype. So how do we do that? You see on top right hand corner there's a design tab, right? We're all along using design. Now it's time to use prototype. The name tells you it's prototype, right? So click prototype. We can click prototype here. And what I do is we click the circle icon here. So this one I hover around it. There's now this big round circle around this dot here, right? That allows me when I hover it shows a plus sign. So this is where you can just drag this circle. You show an arrow. You drag this circle and point it to the screen. Means then you can specify. This is interaction This line means if you interact with this, it should bring you to this. So here I say on tap, it should navigate to screen 2, which is automatically selected. Animation, I don't want to be instant. I want to be smart animate. I say again, smart animate. I'll show again later. Then as for the animation curve, this one for those of you guys who have done like more into animation, more into design, more into CSS, you have known that there's an animation curve kind of thing. There's also something for CSS. I just keep talking about CSS, but yeah, you click it. I suggest changing it to ease in and out lah. Ease in and out. Ease in and out. And then you can test it. So how do you test it? You press the play button on the top right hand corner here. Press play. You'll load your design. You'll show the prototype. Oh shucks, sorry, give me a second. For some reason I have some icon there, is it? Sorry, let me try again. Some bug with the icon, I think. Oh, it's loading. But okay, there's some bug. I think I have the video icon is like it's like in the way of me. Let me check out. What the heck's happening? Is there a video icon somewhere? So Figma sometimes is a bit like personally I prefer Adobe XD because Adobe XD I think more powerful and more consistent. Figma sometimes got a bit some weird issues cropping up here and there. It's a bit weird. And honestly, I also just try my best to like resolve it as I go. I mean, it's a bit weird. Okay, I guess don't know why there's this black thing here. Maybe I'll delete the icon for now. Just make sure that it's not the cause of it. Okay, clearly it's not helping much. I don't know why there's a black thing there. So strange, Figma. Okay, basically what you do is now you can see that you can interact with the prototype. You actually press the icon here. Okay, so clearly it's the black icon. So I think I did it here. It's the video icon. For some reason, it's like bugging me over. I think something went wrong with the identity when I copy paste over. It's a bit strange. Anyways, yeah. So you can see that I will restart again. So I restart. I don't know why this thing is still here. Sheesh. If I press this, automatically do everything for me. It shifts down the rest of the page, and this thing zooms out into a square, which is exactly what I want. Right. So I'll just show again how to do it. So once you're done with the design, you can click prototype. You can drag the circle, drag it over here to the screen. Change it to smart animate. Change the animation to smart animate and ease in and out. Okay. Let me try to find the thing that like is causing. Why is there the video button thing that is like showing up? Sometimes it's just like this. It debug also. So even Figma also need debug. It's a bit strange. Give me a quick second. I'll just see if I can figure out what's happening. The rest you guys can try first and try to get a prototype to work. Can't seem to find the cause for it. So strange, right? But somehow there's just this black thing here. Whatever. Take it as like something went wrong with my demo. It's fine. So click it and you should see the animation. So now we want to be able to animate it back. So we want to be able to come back to the you can see that you can go back to your design by clicking the tabs on top level. So I wanted to be able to go back to my previous screen. So I guess I can just add another animate prototype. See as the right side, there's this round thing again, drag it and go back to the previous screen and do smart animate and ease in and out again. So now you can do something like this. Okay, now press back and it shows up and so on and so forth. This is with the video icon by forever. Yep. So we're already more or less there already. Okay, so I'll just quickly run through the next part. Next part, I think you can watch if you want. You can try to follow if you can. Basically, I just want to make such I can change I can tap this thing and it goes to the next profile picture. Right, just a Telegram. So I can just copy paste this screen. I just select screen 2, I copy and paste. Then I want to change this photo to something else. So like for example, I change it to cat 8 for example. I think cat 8 is the cutest one actually. I select the photo, I paste to change to a new photo. Then I also want my what I call the DP slider to slide Right, I want the solid line on the left to slide over and cover to cover the faded line on the right. So this I actually did the thing for it. I more or less did the thing So there's 2 faded lines below, left and right, and the solid line that toggles back and forth. And now if I set the prototype, this part I can just watch Okay, I can drag it over. smart animate also. So then I test. Now I can press this and you see that, oh, okay, I need to edit, go back. So I just need to press. And this looks exactly like Telegram actually. Pretty impressive. Of course, there's a, I don't know why there's so many glitches. It's like what's called Murphy's Law. What can go wrong, go wrong. So clearly, there's something going wrong here. So like the button, I can't change the color. I also don't know why there's a weird thing coming out here. But yeah, I hope everyone can manage to get something like this. At least the first two screens, like this and this. How was it for everyone else? Can like thumbs up if you manage to get it. If thumbs down if you fail. Wow, nice, Hao Yang. Let me see who else. Jia Wong, nice one also. Oh, someone said in the chat. Okay, so someone asked, can you repeat how to do animations? Okay, so let me just quickly repeat this, and then before I end off the session, I actually I took 30 minutes, which is, I'm so sorry. So previously all along, we were in the design tab. So previously we were doing design, right? We're designing how things look like, right? So you see a right panel, there's a design panel. Actually, what we want to do is now we want to specify the animations, right? The transitions. So now we need to go to prototype. So click prototype. And you can now click items to add the action, add something that the behavior that happens when you interact with it. So here what I want to do is, let me delete this one now. So what I want to do is I'll drag this, I'll drag it out, and then I'll aim it at the place I want it to go to. So for example, I'm aiming at this screen. Right. So this means that this basically tells me that if I interact with this item, it should animate me to this screen. But I need to still configure some stuff, like for example, wait, what happened now? What's okay, done already. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, but the question is now, what should the animation be? What's the edit interaction? So sometimes actually Figma can support more interactions than just tapping, can be dragging, can be and can be touch, can be like when you let go, when you press down, just press down. Right. So here I just want to be on tap. So I tap it, it should animate. Then navigate. You can do other stuff like can be overlay, can be like a left and right transition, but we just wanted to navigate first. Then we want to do a smart animate. We should then animate the screens and edit things. And basically, you animate the transformations on the items. You can think of it this way. So if I had transformed this item by moving, you animate that movement. If I transform this item by changing the color, you animate the change of color. Okay, so this is the thing. So you can, so what you specify is smart animate. The animation curve you specify is in and out, and duration leave it, just leave it as it is. Then once you're okay with the thing, you can press the play button at the top right to present. It should bring you to this screen that you can demo. Can I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Yeah, then you just need to make it such that it goes back. So like, for example, if I had animation goes back, I need to get back to the first screen. I can add it to like a back button. I can add it to something else also. Up to you to specify. I can add it like, I press the call button. Press call button, it goes back. Also can if you want. Then you can try. I press call button, it also goes back. Right. So it's very, very flexible. You can do anything like. Okay, so how do I animate the first profile picture to the second profile picture? Someone asked. So what I did is I make a copy of this screen. Okay, I do it quickly again. So I make a copy of this screen. Okay. So what you do is you select like your screen 2, you select it and you copy paste, you get screen 3. Okay. Then I change the folder. So I like cat A, so I copy paste into cat A here. Then I change then also I change the slider here. So you notice that when your Telegram you press the photo, you slide there's a white bar that slides along the way, right? So you want to slide this thing. Slide this. Sorry, wrong one. It's a bit, I don't know why I can't select it. I think it's because it's covered by the status bar. But basically in the layer, in the layers, I can click into a solid line left and I drag it to the right side. Once again, hold shift to drag horizontally. Yeah, in one direction. Okay, then once I'm done, all I gotta do is I just need to add the transition. So this just now what I did is the designing. Now you add the transition, the prototyping, right? So all I gotta do is I say that if I press this photo, it should animate me, it should transition me to the next screen. So I select this photo. Notice that there's the circle here again. So I drag it to the next screen. Then same thing, if I press this button, it should bring me back, right? So I drag this again and go back to the previous screen. So more or less you can see there's some crisscross going on here. So if I animate, it should animate back and forth. Yeah, I hope that answers the question as well. Yeah. I think as you guys get more and more experience with this, right, you can do a lot of things. It's crazy. Actually, Figma, you can do like insane mockups. They are mind-blowing one. So but today I just give you guys a glimpse into what Figma is capable of. What you learn here can be transferable to Adobe XD, can be a lot of other software. More or less nowadays software, like I said, you can observe competitors and learn what they're doing, right? So more or less they have all arrived at the same set of tools and same set of features that they offer to all designers. So to me, Adobe XD is more powerful, but Figma is more collaborative. So actually you can share this with your friend. You can share with your friend, right? And your teammate can just come in and do together with you. Real-time collaboration. It's like Google Docs, but designing. So this is Figma is more collaborative. Adobe XD is not very collaborative. Adobe XD is actually you design and you show people. That's all. Okay, let me end off this session quickly. Let me finish up my last two slides. I hope everyone had enjoyed had a chance to go try the thing and that it worked out for you guys. If not, you can always watch the recording again. I'll upload to YouTube and send over. But thanks so much for being such a good, for being participative. I can see that from the questions that people are asking me on the chat that you guys are actually trying to follow along. Because sometimes I know some students who just okay, they just either watch or they don't follow along or just switch off. Right. So I'm glad to see most of you guys are following. So it's just makes me happy, I guess. So sorry. So this is our prototype that we have built. I hope most of you guys has got to something similar. So if you guys want to learn more about UX, you can actually go to this website called lawsofux.com. So actually it's just a lot of different principles that you can apply in your own design. So I won't delve into this today, unfortunately. But you can look at this. Some of these are quite interesting. You wouldn't look at it hey, wow, I didn't think of it this way. I didn't know that your mind works this way. But this is actually some laws that are quite mind-blowing. You can go and read. Oops. Then if you want to get inspired by some RBO designs, you can go to this website called Dribble with 3 Bs. It's actually a web platform with a lot of professional designers and artists. They actually upload their designs and get feedback, and they also sell that kind of advertise their products there. It's more of allowing designers to build their portfolio, so they can share their portfolio with people, and people are wow, that's quite impressive. And people on Dribble, actually, there's a process to become a content creator. You can't just suka anybody go and create. It's not like Pinterest or Instagram . Actually, it's these designers are legit designers, and you need have some reputation to be able to start publishing on the platform. So actually, the designs on the platform are quite legit. So I suggest going through, and then if you ever need inspiration about how your apps do, go take a look. Sometimes I also go there to not copy ideas but get inspiration right. Then lastly, final resources. There's a book by Don Norman, the guy that created UX, called The Design of Everyday Things. If you're interested, you can go and read it. You can actually up to you whether you want to buy or not. Of course, I have to say you can go and buy but up to you guys. There's also a very good article by the Nielsen Norman Group. I suspect something to do with Don Norman again. But Nielsen Norman Group, they talk about they actually have a lot of articles about UX design. So they are very, very well written. And then for those who aim to take 3216 one day, CS3216 is a very intensive course that is about building applications that actually make an impact. So your final project is evaluated by whether you can actually get real users to use it. So assignment 1 is already a UI UX design assignment. So you can go take a look at what's the instructions they have there and the steps and you can actually learn from there as well. If not, thank you everyone for being here, for joining me today. And thank you for staying until so late. I know I overwent by almost 30-40 minutes already. So thank you so much for taking time to join me. I'll be sending over the slides and the video recording on YouTube. I'll upload YouTube after this session. I'll email to everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed this session and you guys took away some stuff. But interested to learn more about UI, please join next week. I'll share more about the UI design. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, feel free to email me if any questions. Yeah, can. If not, I'll end the call today. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I think there's a question from James. Are you still here? Sure, I'll just answer a question. Meg, how do we get started on learning UI UX? I think a lot of times you need to be very intentional in your efforts to learn it. So like even now, like for your Orbital, put in time to go and do a proper design, go through the process properly, and then build the design. Trust me, when you have a design and then you have a design already, then you're building, like it's a lot easier than coding and thinking about design at the same time, because it actually it's two different mentalities actually. To me, it's two different mindsets, and it's very, very tough to code and design at the same time. But it's a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they think that, oh, more or less I know what the app should have, so I can code, and then I'll think about design when coding. But actually, it's a very bad mistake. And oftentimes, it's a lot of times why you see the CS students, a lot of the applications are quite ugly, I'll be honest. You look at the projects that people build for 203 and so on, right? Some of them are like, look at it, you want to go blind. Because you can see that they didn't put effort to think about design beforehand. So one way to get started is like what I've done now. So like you use Figma. Don't be anything too impressive. Start with something small, but go through the process properly, build the design, then you go try coding out design. Trust me, it's so much easier to have the code when you have already the design already there already. It's really a lot easier. Yeah, and actually you keep doing this, not only will your coding be better, your design skills will also be improving along the way. So this is my tip. Generally, it's not like I just sit there and then suddenly I become great UI UX. I'll also keep repeating. At the start, my designs were also quite ugly. Honestly, looking back, I think my designs were some of them a bit like CMI. I clearly didn't know what I was doing. But now as I do, I guess you get more and more familiar. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Can. If not, no other questions, I'll end the call now. I don't want to overrun. I need to report your attendance to everybody else, to the professor. Okay. See you guys next week, hopefully. Bye-bye.